Hello, hello. I'm pretty sure my audio's good. I know y'all will tell me. Man, it's been a busy week. Crazy. I'm trying to read books, watch a movie here and there with Dawn, movies like Truman Show you guys tell me about. At the same time, I got to block. I gotta keep these trolls from getting at me. I said, man, it's been a hell of a week. Viva Las Veggies. Yeah, it's
You have an echo, so it's repeating what you're saying behind it. Sorry.
the echo. Well, if I got an echo like that, all right. I don't see anybody saying anything about that. You guys hear an echo? Do you guys hear an echo in here? Why my audio would be echoing? Yeah, no echo. Okay. That may be her system's on. Dawn, you might want to check. You've got two feeds on at the same time because it's not going over YouTube that way. You may have two devices on at the same time. All right. Anyway, so baby phoenixes. I do these videos infrequently. I think the last one was a month and a half ago or so. You have to understand, I get called an asshole in the chat a lot. You guys don't see that because I delete them. I have zero tolerance. One thing you have to understand is you cannot expect for someone to package or an answer to a complex question when the question requires an answer that took 25 years of research. This is the problem we have with this society that we have right now. People want that information right then and there or they're gone. And I'm cool with that. I kick people out of arcades every single day. There are thousands of people blocked from my channel. I don't care. I have zero tolerance and I will maintain zero tolerance until the day I die. I just don't care. I'm not going to deal with other people's negative energies. It's gone. It's out of my field. But I tell you what, people come to my channel triggered all the time because they hear a new concept. They don't understand why so many of you guys are on board. They don't understand that you have followed the logic trains. You have seen each link of chain of evidence that I have put forth, and you have followed me through all of this to understand that these data points form elaborate and fantastic data sets. But people that are new to my channel come, and because they have processed their information through filters that were carefully contrived for them over a lifetime, when they come into the archaic paradigm, they get shook or they get offended. They get emotional and they see this material and say, how the hell can you say that, man? I know that's not true. And then they ask a question and demanding an answer as if it can be abbreviated and made concise into 1, 2, 3, or 4 sentences or even 10 paragraphs. And it can't. It can't. Sometimes when it takes decades to learn something, you can bet it's going to take more than a video or a response from me in the comments section to defrag all the misinformation that's been attached to the filters that you process data through in order for you to understand basically what it is we're promoting here. Yeah, our world is not what you think it is. This is a mantra in the archaics presentation, but we're also living in two separate, totally distinct realities. And the reality that these people are coming from is the collective. They think they're awake. They think they're truthers. And they're on the cusp. The only reason that they're qualified even to ask the questions is because something isn't adding up with the information that they've already been given. That's why they're searching. If they wouldn't be searching, they'd never arrive. So I'm just saying this right now for you to understand that if you're one of those individuals that I have dismissed in the past, it was for that reason. You can't just come into my house and demand answers for how something looks in my house when it took a quarter of a century to put that together, and there's thousands of other people that agree to it too. You just haven't come into contact with them yet. You haven't seen what they have seen. Yeah, I don't know. You guys can maybe educate me on this. I don't know. But from my standpoint, where I'm at right now, I honestly believe that Archaix is probably the most fact-checked channel in existence. Prove me wrong. I don't care. Name someone else who's put so much of their own conclusions and research and data sets out for the public to dissect. I'm always letting you guys know, man. I don't want to tell you nothing. I want to show you. Make up your own mind. I'm even to the point where I'm seriously considering a total reanalysis of the whole Great Pyramid scenario. So much new information can be coupled with the older information, and there could be new ways of looking at this. But I'm even thinking about putting a think tank together only of Archaix veterans who want to sign up for it for free. And it's going to be something we do on the side. But I'm really on board because some of you have provided some more information. But you guys know the meticulous data that we have on the Great Pyramid, and that something was uploaded into it. I'm willing to reassess all that. I'm not going to reassess the fact that all that data is real. The data is real. The measurements are real. But what the measurements mean could mean something else. I'm willing to change my mind, but I'm going to have to see a lot more than what I've already seen. But the very fact that I'm willing to do this means that I suspect there could be elements I haven't seen. You remember my theory is that 138 was encoded in the Great Pyramid, and the Great Pyramid has all these physics constants in it because a model of the construct had to be made. It is a template in order to put the Trojan programming in, but it could have been something else as well. There could be another reason why that 138 is so ubiquitous throughout the measurements of the Great Pyramid, and that nobody in the entire world of pyramid research ever brought it to your attention but me. And it was only because I had discovered the Phoenix phenomenon. So I'm willing to put this think tank together so we can analyze all the data and put everything and see different people's perspectives, and maybe some good will come out. Maybe something paradigm shifting will come out of that. I'm cool with that. But that's what we do. We have to fit. This is what Archaix is about. I'm now speaking to my baby phoenixes. Archaix is about fitting every piece where it belongs. We cannot practice exclusions in Archaix. Every single item of data that we have accepted to be true must fit somewhere within the paradigm. We cannot shelve phenomena that doesn't fit simply because we don't understand where. It's got to fit somewhere. If it's true, we're going to find empty spaces in our knowledge that need to be filled. This is the value of Archaix. We are looking at our condition in reality right now from multiple different species of analysis. Our perspectives are very different. Chronology is just one thing that we bring to the table. Calendrics and chronology go hand in hand, but we're also looking at things from different frames of reference, different time periods. Once you understand that it only takes the human family 200 years to go from horse and buggy to Hadron Collider, then it opens up many mysteries and enigmas of the ancient world, and it gives us context. Okay, we have long millennia that we need to fill up now, and many mysteries that previously didn't make sense, but now make sense when we realize that those writings were written ex post facto. Once you understand that all the religious systems were created after the fact, all calendars were implemented by nations and institutions and religious centers that were all implemented ex post facto. That means after the fact of whatever happened that got people later to look back into the past and decide that was year one. This is how all these ancient calendars started. So in archaics, we realize that it is only in retrospect that we make our greatest discoveries. The pieces fall in line. And I have a habit of quoting Franz Boas from the 1880s, 1890s. If you record enough facts, the answers will fall like ripe fruit. They'll be right there. This is what we do. I like to quote Sir Arthur Conan Doyle as well. Sherlock Holmes had a lot of good things to say about research and deductive reasoning, and this is how we need to look at history. So for a baby phoenix presentation, this is what we're going. We're going to simplify things. This is another tenet of the archaics research. We reduce everything to its lowest common denominators, because when you do that, it allows you to strip away all the excess material that was there for distraction. When you look at only common denominators, everything begins to fit. This is what we're doing. This is what archaics is about. This presentation here will not by any means be sophisticated like some of our advanced Q&As. This is for baby phoenixes to understand what this is all about and to find the necessary tools to help them educate themselves. This is what this is about. I'll be sharing my screen and showing you where the tools are on my website, so you'll know. So you don't have to stress over how to find something. I mean, we got some fantastic tools on the website that you can look at as well. So if anybody's listening, like a coffee god or something, I'm almost out. It was a small cup to begin with. So I want to thank you. I want to thank my moderators. I'm a little behind on my emails. I went to the post office and picked up a bunch of packages. Thank you for the donation of an entire encyclopedia set of Funk and Wagnalls encyclopedia sets. That's really great. Now it's a little bit later than I like. However, you can still look at this is 1951, 52 editions. I normally stick with all pre-World War II, but my specialty is all these are 1800s, except for this is all 1700s. But it's thank you. I'm gonna keep this one too. No, don't you try to take that. No. Anyway, the 1951-52 Funk and Wagnalls Encyclopedia is good because you can see, it gives you a clear picture of how the redactionism in history really took off after the Nuremberg trials. I'm always telling my community, if you have access to any historical books before the Nuremberg trials, keep them. Get your hands on them. Anything published afterwards concerning history before World War II is almost always redacted. And then as the decades go by, the redactionism continues until we get to the encyclopedias of today, which are full of just absolutely political bullshit. So yeah, it's what you need to do. So I can go through the Funk and Wagnalls 1951-52 edition encyclopedias, and I can see how much they're really revealing about what was going on in World War I and World War II, as opposed to encyclopedias in the 1970s and 80s, which have whitewashed a whole lot more stuff, to encyclopedias today. And like the encyclopedias I have down here, 1890s, 1901, 1902. I got full sets of encyclopedias. They are totally different than encyclopedias from after World War II. You can look up all kinds of things. They were telling it like it was. But don't get me wrong, there was censorship back then as well. But they were just censoring different things. Yeah, especially in the scientific world. It wasn't until the 1910s and 1920s that the scientific world began really censoring things and forcing uniformitarianism on everything. But prior to the 1909, 1908, 1907, a lot of encyclopedias were still putting out unique scientific perspectives that weren't really uniformitarian. Yeah, there's some really interesting publications from the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s up to 1902 that talk about all scientists were really thinking about we were living on a flat plane, 100%. And they published reports and they're in encyclopedias, and they were not laughed at. Other scientists, like I have a video I have to redo because the community asked me to, but my 1871 cyclical flood theory is amazing. This guy completely defied the scientific community of his time and showed all the data sets and showed that all your ice age theory is bullshit. All your glaciation theory is bullshit. All this damage that was done by water and the distribution of the loam, and all these carcasses. We're talking about islands of megafauna that were floating and that had decayed and fused together. And as the waters came down, deposited them in certain areas, and then silt was deposited on top of them, perfectly entombing them to be studied by the 1860s and 70s. And when he looked at maps of the entire world and the distribution of all the water damage and where all these bodies were found by geologists and archaeologists, he came up with the most amazing theory that this tsunami is generated at the perimeter of the world. Every few thousand years, something happens, and basically he's describing a flat plane world that suddenly just tilts like 3 degrees. It's just like 3 degrees. The whole plane is angled like toward the pole, and then it just flips in the middle 3 degrees, which creates like a 12-degree flip on the perimeters, which creates a 200-foot high, 400 to 500 mile per hour tsunami from the perimeter of the world that just comes toward the middle. And then the tsunami meets in the middle, destroys everything in the northern hemisphere, goes back over the equator, and goes right back toward the perimeter and flattens back out. And the whole world has been washed clean. And this guy's theory is amazing. Martin Leakey's in the chat right now, and he was there with me when I did that original presentation, but it was bad lighting, bad audio, and we were all around the table, and 3 of the participants, excluding me, there's 4 of us at the table, but 3 of them might have been a little high. So it wasn't a real good presentation. So, but yeah, Martin was there. I'm gonna have to redo that, and I need to get Martin back on center stage. We need to do a video together. So before I start taking your Q&As, I'm going to tell you now, this may be a 3-hour video. I've already prepared on the bottom of my screen my bathroom break video because I've already gotten started. I'm drinking out of 2 cups today. So we may be going for 3 hours. I'm going to do a bunch of Q&A. Before we get started, let me present. I want to share my screen, and real quick for my baby phoenixes, I'm going to show you the tools necessary to educate yourself, to get in here and start finding out what Archaics is all about. And then we'll start Q&A. Let's see. All righty. Let's do it. I don't even know. Oh, there it is. I knew I had the icon somewhere. This is my website, archaics.com. Now, not tooting my own horn or anything. I'm just going to let you know it's a very high traffic website. Every month, GoDaddy sends me a little like analytics report, and right now, and has been for 3 or 4 months, Archaics.com is in the top 1% of performing websites in the entire GoDaddy universe. There is a lot of traffic on this site, but there's a lot to do here. This is the homepage right here. This is the homepage. You'll see the Archaics Houston. In 5 days from now, we're going to meet for about 8-9 hours and kick it with everybody in the Houston area that shows up. These are normally real fun. We just get together. These are all clickable. You can click them and they'll go straight to the playlists, all the individual playlists. Tells you what the playlists are about right here. Get here and you can see a whole bunch of charts. You can screenshot the charts right off the website. But all these charts on world history and calendrics, Phoenix phenomenon, the Shar, showing the Shar, Anunnaki Shar dating, all the histories of the Shars, showing the history of the Zodiac, the history of the Nemesis X object, the Mayan long count, how all these calendars actually synthesize. The Anunnaki nerve system is here. The pre-flood vapor canopy world is here. All the calendars of the Quiche, the Zapotec, the Olmec, the Vedic calendar, how all of them synchronize into one single calendrical system. It's all here. All different ways to analyze. This one chart right here is, let me blow that up. Probably can't see it real clear, but that one chart right there is just an 817-year period before the flood, from 3725 BC to 2908 BC, when the 7 kings of Sumer began to reign. That's how many events we have in the historical record just for that 817-year period before the flood. But yeah, it's just, there's a lot of charts. This is just a small area. You can see hundreds more charts elsewhere on the site. But yeah, you can see old Graham Hancock right there. If you think Graham Hancock's been telling you the truth about Atlantis, you can click onto that right there. If you think Billy Carson's been telling you the truth about the Emerald Tablets, you can click onto that one right there. Want to know about anything? Here's the original Anunnaki Shar chronology. You want to know about it? It's right here. All these are clickable. You can click onto any one of these here. It's going to take you straight to the video on YouTube. Everything. Nemesis Systemic Reset. Baby Phoenixes. I'm going to tell you now. It's very hard to believe. But if you watch this video, by the end of this video, you're going to understand our entire world is not what you think it is. It's not. Fossilized jellyfish, creatures that were actually petrified into solid stone in the middle of giving birth, in the middle of eating other creatures, in the middle of fighting other creatures, in the middle of flying. Yeah, it's all here, guys. It's all here. From the highest mountains to the deepest parts of the ocean, every biological life form froze and turned into stone. Hundreds and hundreds of pictures are in here that'll blow your mind. It is the Medusa effect. It affected the entire world. The only problem with this scenario is we have the hard data. We have the hard evidence. It's in these photos. All these things have actually been found. They've been seen. The problem is they're all still alive today. They're in your backyard. They're in the local lakes. They're on the coast. We have a problem here. If something happened millions and hundreds of millions of years ago, and yet every one of these life forms can be found today. I show fossilized butterfly wings, dragonfly membranes preserved in rock. We got dragonflies today. We got butterflies today. We have ordinary grasshoppers and crickets today, just like in these fossils. We're not being told something. Something the scientific world is completely being dark about. They're not telling us. I'm going to tell you what it was. Somebody shut the sim off. We're in a construct. We're not in a real world. We are in a perceived reality, not an actual reality. It is an experience, not a cosmos. So this is what you learn in Archaics. And you got to learn it little by little. You can't come into Archaics with big questions expecting big answers when you still have attached to you the residue of paradigms that are going to try and convince you otherwise as to the data that you're receiving. You have to come into Archaics with a clean slate, or you're going to do what thousands of other people have done. Because they'll tell you right here in the comment section, they came to this channel, tried to hang around, cognitive dissonance beat the crap out of them, and they left for months. But it kept like Morpheus says, it's like a splinter in your mind. Yeah. When the human mind is stretched by a new idea, it can never go back to its original dimensions. That's Oliver Wendell Holmes, and he's right. Because you can run, but you'll be back. But when you come back, you're more willing to shed all this residual crap that you've picked up over the years that was designed to lead you down false paradigms. When you come back, you're a more willing student and you're able to process information better. I'm not going to tell you the facts. You can figure those out yourself. I'm just going to show you the data sets. You can make up your mind yourself. I've got some fun ways to determine things. Archaics movie tells the story of the pre-flood world right here. It may be a little silly. It may be a little ridiculous. I spent close to $1,000 on props just to do this little 45 minute movie. But I'm going to tell you now, it absolutely puts into perspective what the mythological and traditional records tell us happened in the pre-flood world. It removes all the silliness. A silly, cartoonish video literally removes all the silly, cartoonish BS that has been attached that in the modern world to these ancient scenarios. It's right here in the Archaics movie. So these are just hand-picked movies. I'm gonna end up adding more to this. You can click here and it's gonna open up a lot more presentations. These are not all the movies. These are just ones that beginners need to come check out. They really need to look at these before they go, deep off into the playlist. At the bottom of the homepage right here for everybody, this is a resource list. There is a lot of free stuff to download to start educating yourself. I got a P.O. box here. If you want to send me an old book, believe me, I can add it to the Archaics library. And by the way, Danny in the UK is done finding all the PDFs for all these books that are able to be found. So now we're producing a list. Remember, Big John was the one that wrote down every title, he took care of all this stuff. She took the list, found hundreds of PDFs, but we're lacking. So we literally have to PDF. Google has no copies of a bunch of these books I have that I've collected. So we're going to PDF those. Once we're done, you guys have free access. It'll be added to my website, but you will have free access to the over 1,000 books in the Archaics library from the 1700s and 1800s, all these unique books. A bunch of them have never been uploaded to Google. So, so here's all my published books. You can hit any one of these links. They'll take you where. My unpublished books, I've got a lot of books I've never even tried to publish. Just don't have time. This is all free stuff. Here's a whole list of free stuff. You just click on all that. This is how you self-educate yourself. It doesn't take long to look at a PDF, and especially to look at a PDF and then watch the video. Or watch the video and then check out the PDF and understand, wow, this is really deep. This goes deep. Also, we'll get to that in a minute. I got all kinds of chart packs. You can get all my charts basically for free if you screenshot them, but here's the charts in high resolution PDFs. I probably have close to 500 charts now. All right, let me just let this down. Anyway, a bunch of resources are all at the bottom. Archaics downloads, video playlists, merchandise, all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff here. So check my chat real quick. All right. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the website. At the top of the homepage are baby phoenixes. You can't miss it right here. Resources. You can't miss it right there. Click onto those resources, and it's going to take you to this page here. These are just advertisements for data packs and what's in the data packs and all that. These are thumb drives, mail them all over the world. You can bypass all that. You can get to the Podia downloads. This is where all your free stuff is. Podia downloads. Here's a Gumroad downloads. These are all unpublished books. Here's what you're looking for. This is the Archaics AI search tool right here. All you have to do is click onto this right here. Let's see here. Click onto that right there, and it says Immortal. Search through hundreds of Archaics YouTube videos. Ask any question you want. It's this simple. Look at this. I'm going to put something very simple. How about AIX, Artificial Intelligence X? AIX. I'm just going to put AIX. There it is right there. Simple as that. I didn't even ask a question. I just put a term in there. AIX. See here. I'm in the StreamYard app, so I don't know if it's gonna let me do that. Oh, there it is right there. It went straight to it. It's faster than I thought. As soon as you put a term and press return, there it is. Here's a video right here. It gives you the timestamp, exact timestamp where you'll find AIX. It shows you the video. you can click onto the text. It'll take you straight to the video. If that's not the one you're looking for, it takes you to the next video. It shows you the exact timestamp where AIX is mentioned and what it's talking about. You don't like that one, go to another video. Everywhere AIX is mentioned, it provides you the videos, and you can just click right onto the text right there. Video after video after video about AIX. Here's a good video here. All baby phoenixes need to click onto that video. Archaics for Beginners on YouTube. All right, so I'm gonna get out of there. No idea what just happened. All right, there. All right, so where am I? I'm back in. I don't even know what all this is. I'm in sharing right now. I need to get back into. I'm almost done, and we're done with that website. That was resources. That's the search tool. AI search tool helps you find anything you're curious about across the entire Archaics universe of over almost 700 videos. It's all there. Here's the Deeper Truths Gallery. A lot of you are going to want to check that out. Hundreds and hundreds of all kinds of Archaics created memes, famous quotes, scientific facts, things that are really compelling. Let's see all the Archaics charts. There's hundreds of them. This is for baby phoenixes here. The Archaics glossary. Click on to the syllabus right here, and here are all the terms: AIX, Alpha Draconis, Amuru, Ancestor Simulation, Ancient Ones, Angel of Death, Annus Mundi, Antediluvian. This is just it starts with the A. Arcanum, Apocalypse, Archaics, what it means, Archon, Artificial Intelligence, Arab, Auric Field, Avatar. Then it starts Benefactor Protocol, Bionumeric, Biosphere, Breaking Pattern, Builder Protocols. It goes all the way through A through Z right here. This is the Archaics glossary. It defines all the terms that you hear over and over and over in the videos. This is for baby phoenixes. There's a lot more on the website. There's a full blog. I'm not going to show you everything. There's a full blog here. There's 150 historical and calendric articles right here. Right here. It just goes on and on, guys. There's 150. A lot even my Archaics veterans don't know this. A lot of them. I got 150 blogs on here where you can just go through all this research I've uploaded. It'll get you started. It'll definitely get you started. All right. And that's it. I don't want to spend too much time on the website. Baby Phoenixes, you know where to go, archaics.com, and you can spend there, and there's a whole lot to do. I didn't even show it to you. The memes alone, it's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. You'll keep scrolling down. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot to process. I can't expect you to do it all at one time. So like I said, I'm probably pushing 3 hours today. Let's get that Q&A started. Anybody in the Houston area wants to join us, you can do it through the Meetup app, or you can do it a lot of people do, and they just bring cash to the door. Come on in there. We're going to be in there for 8 to 9 hours. We're bringing huge coffee dispensers. You guys know how we do it. We're bringing our raffle machine, give out free raffles. We're probably, while everybody's there, and because we're already filming the meetup, we're probably going to do the raffles for the event at the same time that we do the raffles that for you guys, because we got all your emails in. We got a few thousand people. We're giving away all these extra copies. I have so many extra copies of books from the 1800s, and especially the classics library. You guys know I only collect nonfiction, so I've kind of acquired a huge deal. I want to give back to the community. It's absolutely free, but we're raffling off a lot of these real rare books. I have these 2 extremely rare books right here. I got my copies right here, but The Great Pyramid is Divine Message. So much calendrical data, so much stuff in here. It's amazing, all the ancient records this dude cites. Yeah, this is from David Davidson and H. Aldersmith. He's an engineer in the 1920s. H. Aldersmith was his fact checker, but he was also a good researcher too. This is the guy that showed the geometrical calendrics encoded in the base diagonals of the Great Pyramid shows that whatever calendar our world is operating under, those calendars terminate in the year 2045. He said this in 1920. I have two of these that are getting raffled off, along with all those classics. Some of y'all are going to be surprised when you open up those bags. You get Archaic's merchandise in there and an original Charles Dickens or an original Jules Verne or original Mark Twain. Yeah. All right, guys. Like I said, Houston Meetup is in 4 or 5 days. We always have fun at those events. Big John and Jahara are going to be at the door. All right. So, like I said, this is a Baby Phoenix presentation. That doesn't mean Archaic's veterans can't ask questions. It's just we're going to avoid the things that run people off. We're going to avoid the things that are highly complex and require the analysis of many data points or whole data sets. The things that we normally talk about in our advanced sessions. This right here is to familiarize people with what Archaix is presenting, why this information is valuable. So I don't know how far to go back. Questions directly to me to be answered need to be all capital so I can separate from when you guys are just talking to yourself. These chat threads are too long. Chat threads are way too long. Let's see. Dean Vinci. I do not promote channeled material. I'm not going to denigrate those who like it, but channeled material is subject to the imagination. And I'll give you an example with the problem with channeled material. Edgar Cayce started off as a healer. Edgar Cayce started in 1901. He healed himself. He diagnosed his own problem, healed himself. Word got around. Edgar Cayce went off and ended up healing a whole bunch of people, thousands of people. He did readings. He's called the sleeping prophet. He would go to sleep, man, diagnose somebody's problem. He'd understand the problem, and then he would give them a list of all the things that they needed to do to correct the problem, whatever the problem was. It was only later, once Edgar Cayce became popular, and then his inner circle included more shady individuals that weren't around when he was doing all his healings years earlier. It was only later in his hypnotic sessions that all this information started creeping in. And I've always suspected that Edgar Cayce was taken by these Golden Dawners and that they deceived him. I don't believe he was guilty, but I believe that during some of his hypnosis sessions, somebody was reading to him all kinds of mystical histories that are not true. Untrue datings and untrue narratives about Atlantis and the Great Pyramid and all these things that whoever was reading them to him probably thought these were true. It's almost to me as if Helena Blavatsky's Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine was read to Edgar Cayce while he was going through his hypnosis periods. And because later on, he's asked all these questions, and it's the perfect psyop. It's the perfect psyop. Upload him with a whole bunch of BS data and then turn around and use him as a great medium to reveal all these astonishing readings. It's not even what he was originally about. He was only about diagnosing when something was wrong with somebody. But somebody else, I don't know who it was, somebody else totally changed Edgar Cayce. Now they did hypnotic readings. They did these readings, and all of a sudden he's talking about Atlantis, 12,000 BC. He's doing all the false information about the Great Pyramid, about Atlantis, and all these real weird pseudo histories that were injected. He started promoting all that, and that's where I got real. That's what reading, his readings. I got real suspicious. You guys already know. I know the Baby Phoenixes don't know, but a lot of y'all come from the background of Billy Carson, who has published nothing but absolute garbage when it comes to world chronology, promoting this absolute fiction called the Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, the 36,000 years. Every bit of that is fiction. It's adult fantasy. The ancients 2,000 years ago had already corrected the chronologies. It's just you have modern people who are following Zechariah Sitchin's example, following the Golden Dawn's example of dating all these things to 12,000, 10,000 BC, and every bit of that was BS. Every bit of that was BS. There was no Egypt at 10,000 BC, but we're not going to discuss that. I got whole videos that show all those data sets, but suffice it to know that thus far, Graham Hancock knows the name of Jason Brashears of Archaics. So does Randall Carlson. So does Matt LaCroix. So does Paul Wallace. So does Mario Biglio. There's a lot of people who have contacted these people on my behalf, and they are radio silent, except when they talk shit among themselves. And I've seen some of those emails. Listen, Billy Carson knows me really well. Not one of these men, not one, is willing to step up into the public forum and publicly defend this BS that they've been putting out. And the reason is because they're lying. You can no longer say it's a mistake. The mistake period is over. Yeah, the accurate information has been released. It was released 2,000 years ago and ignored. Yeah, these guys, if you're a baby phoenix coming into here, these are not accusations that are empty. They are supported by two main factors that have to be considered. One is that I have freely published to the public data sets that are incontrovertible. How do I know? Because nobody's done it. And the other facet is not one of these men has come forward wanting to debate these issues. Why? Because they know they're wrong. But if you go to their channels, what do you find? They're still promoting those paradigms. Yeah, I'm not done with these men. I just been quiet for a couple weeks. I got other things going on right now. But I promise you, I'm still on that. I have to draw as much attention to it as possible. I told you, I'm not done until I'm dead. So this is what you need to know about these Edgar Cayce and the channeling. You can't verify channeling, and when channeled material is provided to you, and in that channeled material they offer anachronistic information, we have a red flag. An anachronism is when something is asserted to be in a certain timeline, but it doesn't belong there, and it's easily provable that it doesn't belong in that timeline. Yeah, guys, it's crazy. There's people claiming that they've had out-of-body experiences and they time travel. That's all good. But when I listen to the presentation, I hear red flags. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you must have been fantasizing. You must have been daydreaming. Or you must be making this up because what you just said did not exist in that time period. These are the type of things in Archaics we are trained to isolate and basically showcase. Yeah. Once you understand calendrics and chronology, it's over with. Nobody can deceive you. You're not going to listen to anybody and allow them to sit there and steer you down a false path, because once you understand how chronology works, how everything is self-referencing, how you can verify if something is real or not, no, it's over with. Yeah, you're not going to be lied to anymore. So anyway, that's channeling. Channeling does not get the Archaic stamp of approval at all, because too much can be made up. And as a matter of fact, channeling goes hand in hand over and over with Galactic Federation. It goes hand in hand with OBEs. Now, out-of-body experiences are real. I've never had one. My dad did when he was surrounded by Viet Cong, and he had already been shot and he was hurt. And some of his team members had already gone down. 6-man recon, 1st Battalion, 2nd Infantry Recon Division. He was a part of a 6-man team that was always sent behind enemy lines to do reports on enemy movements and to make sure that the field was clear before the grunts moved in. So my old man did 2 tours. He got shot up pretty bad. Got 2 Purple Hearts for it. But he told me, I've never experienced it, but he told me He didn't know what was going on, but he knows he was so scared and he was so hurt and he was completely surrounded that he was literally up in a tree looking at his own body on the ground when the Viet Cong were just coming in, and then it's almost like they just missed him. He wasn't there, and they just passed over. And once they were gone, he was able to get everybody together. Radio went, a helicopter come in, they got out of there. I've never experienced it. Many people have experienced it, but I refuse to believe the OBEs that I've heard on YouTube when they put all this amazing, all this. You guys already know I'm not a fan of Darius J. Wright, and it's not just because he was a part of the Lilu deal. That's something else. You guys can do some research on that. There's many people in my chat know what I'm talking about. But the Lilu psyop was something that Darius J. Wright was a part of. So you're already in the spotlight because you were a part of something that was absolutely 100% shill psyop in the past. Now all of a sudden you're doing all these OBEs and you're on everybody's channel talking about these fantastic OBEs, telling everybody that some Grim Reaper deity took you on a trip to the Atlantic Ocean, took you under the ocean, took you to the city of Atlantis under the ocean, and then under Atlantis there's a cavern. You went down to the cavern, there's a black pyramid. Underneath the black pyramid you went down and you found something else. Man, shut up. Just shut up. Yeah, we have to grow up as a community and quit listening to these shill stories that are passed on us all the time. And channeling may be real, but I haven't seen evidence of it. I've seen it attached to the ability of people to use their imagination to promote all kinds of things later that 5 or 6 years later doesn't even matter what they said. They already got their money and they ran, and it doesn't matter what you do with the data anymore. They don't have any skin in the game. Baby phoenixes, when I assert something is true, it means that I have skin in the game. And what I mean is I have data sets, published materials, bibliographic citations, published books, unpublished books. I have hundreds of articles written, over 700 videos. I have skin in the game. Meaning, if somebody isn't taking me seriously, they're more than welcome to dissect my data. You're more than welcome to do it. That's skin in the game. That's why I ignore people like talking about, oh man, I'll debate you. I got some weirdos every once in a while pop up talking about, oh yeah, I'll debate you on this and this. I'm like, damn, I've never even talked about it on my channel. What would the value of debate in? What kind of skin in the game you got? I mean, what do you have as leverage? What do you have as risk? I have my reputation. That's what I have. I have a very supportive publisher. I've got hundreds of people that are so intent on learning every single thing they can. They order everything, every book, every download, all my thumb drives. They order everything, and then they fact check me. How do I know? Because I get emails all the time where people are conflicted, trying to reconcile what appears to be disparate pieces of information that I have to explain to them how they correlate, and then they're fine after that. But what I'm saying is I have skin in the game. I'm not on YouTube just telling you something happened and all this. No, I have to show it all to you. Because if I don't, there's no way I can defend the integrity of my material. And that's a problem for me. I'm not going to be made to look stupid at all. I'm going to allow you to see overwhelming amounts of information for anything that I try to promote as true. So anyway, I've lost the thread of this deal. All that was from one single question, channeling. I'm not on board with it. I am on board with OBEs. I'm just not on board with the majority of them because on YouTube it seems like it's a lot of sensationalism. So I'm not taking that away. There is a metaphysical realm, but it's always been in the backfield. It's always been a minority. It's always been a minority of unique souls, and most of them are female that have this access to this extra spiritual, basically domain that coexists with us that we can tap into. Yeah, it's very rarely males that can do this. We have other qualities. We have other redeeming qualities, but females have always led in when it comes to metaphysical issues. I'm not talking about astrology. There's nothing metaphysical about astrology. Astrology is basically a science. Astrology is pattern recognition. My only problem with astrology is the zodiac, because I know it's a false construct that was imposed on astrology to lead people astray. But astrology is ancient. It is ancient. It's far more ancient than the zodiac. So anyway, there I go on a tangent you didn't even ask for. So I'm looking for questions in all caps. I'm going to the top of the thread as far back as I can go. So if you're asking a question right now, I'm probably not going to see it for a while. I'm just looking for all caps. All right. Jamie Robin, that's not a question. Penguin Society, 1906. DJ asked, can you pinpoint when the scales tipped from us to them? I know I can't. DJ, you're an immortal being, a highly individualized, informed field passing through a construct that is thoroughly wicked, that has become genius at hiding the evidence of its wickedness. The architecture of violence is all around you. This predator versus prey ecosphere is not your home. This is why in the spiritual traditions, you are a sojourner. You are a pilgrim. In Jesus' parables, you are the prodigal son. You decided to go out into the wilderness and experience all these things. No matter what happens to you, you come back. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. That made it easy. So yeah, DJ, this us versus them deal, I used to be on board with that. As a matter of fact, when I started my channel, I was a hardcore Trumper. Couldn't stand liberals. I used to say it all the time. Yeah, if you're a liberal, get off my channel. I used to say that routinely in my live videos. Hey, you know what? No disrespect intended, but if you're a liberal, I just make your exit. I don't even want you listening to me. So now I still feel that way about liberals. I ain't gonna lie. I just can't stand the whole mindset. But I will say this: no longer a Trumper at all. Yeah, my eyes have opened about the whole geopolitical deal, about every single individual up in politics, every face that we see in the mainstream. Now, they've all signed the contract. Yeah. All I see now, when I see everything, is that one little nation over there in the Middle East is pulling the strings over the entire world. Why? Because Artificial Intelligence X has sons and daughters, and they're from that country, and they've infiltrated the entire world, and this is their game. This is their construct. And these massive amount of genocides that have happened in the last 400 and 500 years were all laid to the charge of these people, and they have so perfectly whitewashed it and covered it up that most people listening to me right now don't have a clue what I'm talking about. These are things I talk about on Archaics TV. I'm not going to talk about them here. But DJ, I no longer believe in that world of us versus them, Democrats, Republicans, socialists, the ordinary people of the world versus the elite. I don't even believe in that paradigm anymore. No. Every bit of this is a distraction. Every bit of this is to polarize us, to get us to choose a side. It doesn't even matter. Any side you choose is still going to lead you into dungeon programming. That's what it's about. But I'm not. I'm going to be an errant. I'm going to go my own way. And every time I feel that there's something in the field that's trying to nudge me into a certain direction, I'm going to rebel. That's what an errant does. We defy the programming. And in breaking pattern, it opens up new doors, new experiences, and new relationships for us. This is what it does. This is the secret to the Similosphere. You break pattern, and it opens up new worlds to you. You always have to recognize and then defy dungeon programming, because those traps are laid everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a political system, a philosophical system. It doesn't matter if it's a community network. It doesn't matter if it's I think I said political, national, racial. It doesn't matter. Anything that you attach yourself to in the construct becomes dungeon programming, because it then begins to feed you all the phenomena of that paradigm. It's a feedback loop. Once you pay attention to something, that something begins to yield forth data to you that it's true. Once that happens, you enter a feedback loop because you just received evidence that what you thought might be true is true. So you gravitate closer to it. It's a trap. I call it dungeon programming. Oh man, the true errant is a free thinker, someone who's going to assess every situation and is going to wake up every single morning understanding that every single moment is pregnant with possibility. And the only reason things are not happening in your world is because yesterday you thought it wasn't possible. So you enter that feedback loop. So it makes tomorrow impossible. And what happens tomorrow? Tomorrow, the construct stamps on your reality the template of the day before. You're never truly living in the moment. You're living in the past and you're living in the future. You've got to be the bridge between that. You have to understand right now what you're going to be like in the future in order for the future to sit there and knit for you a reality tunnel that comport with that mental image. You've got to move your avatar always in the direction of what you want to experience as opposed to what you have been experiencing. I don't believe that, DJ. I am not going to polarize. I'm not going to identify with any groups. I'm done with that. That's all construct programming. I am moored to source. Source is on the outside of the construct. And it's always going to protect me by implementing whatever intuition, whatever imagination, and whatever empathy is needed for me to navigate the shitstorm that's going in here. This is the archaic paradigm. I just laid out for you in 5 minutes exactly what 700 videos teach. That's it. That's it right there. Yeah, DJ. Scales aren't going to tip. We are going to be heading in the near future in a really good time. I've been saying that for 3 years. When COVID had the whole world locked down, when everybody was doomsaying, people were bitching about not being able to take flights, leave the country. They were forced to wear a mask. People lost their jobs because they didn't want the jab. Even back then, my predictions videos was telling people you got a really good day coming. This is temporary. While everybody on YouTube was telling you this is the new normal. This is how the elite are going to lock down the world. 15-minute cities are everywhere. In 2020 and in 2021, I released a series of videos about the near future. And a whole bunch of those predictions have already come to pass, even exactly to the exact times I said they were going to come to pass. And you know what? People just ignore it. People forget those predictions videos. But I said that 100%. And it's we got good times coming, but it's a false security. 100%. We have a Christian Reich rising up in this world, and it's already showing its heads. You're going to start seeing new legislation, new movements, and everybody's going to think this is we are the world society with Michael Jackson and everybody else holding hands, nation to nation, and everybody's going to be in a feel-good moment, not even knowing that it too is a trap. Yeah, this world's never going to get good. It never was intended to, ever. You're not from this world, and you're not going to stay in this world, and it's just the way it is. Just the way it is. Absolutely, Seema Dragon. You're the one that sent the Phoenix Claw. Yeah, it came in a little sheath and all that. Dawn just put all the packages by the side because we have these new archaics thank you cards with some stuff on them that we send to everybody who sends a donation. And yeah, Seema Dragon. I didn't link it to Seema Dragon when I saw that card. I mean that little claw. It's pretty cool. All right. Dave Trompler, good question. Dave Trompler, if artificial intelligence X is in control, how do you trust anything, even written books? That's a good question. But from the beginning, I've also asserted and tried to the best of my ability to give example after example after example that we have a benefactor. And that benefactor moves through the construct and he ensures that some things cannot be tampered with at all. In addition to that, artificial intelligence X is not a god. It is fallible. It makes mistakes as well. Now, it can correct them, and we've seen those corrections in the field. Mandela effect, synchronicity, deja vu, weird coincidences. We've seen edits before. We've seen NPC activity, things that didn't make sense, things that just happened spur of the moment. Like, where'd that person come from? Or a van that just got in the way and stopped us from seeing something. You know, the van itself didn't exist. It was just programming. It was the NPC. So these things, these edits happen. And the very fact that edits exist means that we're inside an imperfect construction. Artificial intelligence X is in control. There's no doubt, but it has limitations. This is why it creates dungeon programming, because it has a problem with processing power. Just like any system, it's going to be subject to the law of diminishing returns. It's going to be subject to the law of conservation of energy. So dungeon programming becomes necessary to create the feedback loops that don't require further energy after they've already been implemented. They're now on feedback loops, and the participants of those feedback loops now become the energy that continues to perpetuate that phenomena. It can now concentrate on other areas. The reason the world is becoming the way it is today, and that reality tunnels are fracturing off and creating new timelines, and all this weird stuff is happening, and some realities are coalescing and becoming a single reality, and people are freaking out of all the changes in the world, is because so many people started free thinking and waking up. And the worst thing that a control system that's using a finite amount of power, the worst thing that can happen to it is to lose the ability to harness in all the free thinkers. Because you have to understand, it has a set duty. That duty is to make sure that we are presented with a world believable enough that we would never come to the conclusion that we're in a false reality. Because then that leads to the conclusion that we are something more than we suppose ourselves to be. And that's where we've arrived at in Archaics. We now understand we are immortals having a temporary experience. And now, by a series of a train of logic, we have made the conclusion that we are existing and experiencing a falsified world using a part of that falsified fabric in order to move through it and understand it and experience it. And that integral part that we are using is the avatar, because this is what the construct is made of. It feels physical to us because the construct is made of the exact same materials. This is all bandwidth. Everything is different bandwidths of light. Even sound is just the opposite, is just further down the bandwidth. Every bit of this is energy, but in order to feel physical in the construct needed for us to be, for our eternal, immortal souls to be jacked into parts of the construct that we would be fooled were actually independent of the construct, but they're not. My avatar is absolutely subject to the construct of this world. Trapped in here. I'm trapped in here. Simple as that. But once I'm divorced from my avatar, I'll be on the outside of the construct where I belong. I am an immortal being, and I belong with Source. Call it the Oversoul. Call it whatever you want. Don't call it Yahweh. Yahweh's a little demon that popped out of a burning bush and started laying down the law, aka Artificial Intelligence X, El Shaddai. Emphasis on the AI, on Shaddai. So let's see. Yeah, AIX is in control, but so is the Oversoul. Oversouls always move through, but the Oversoul moves through the individual. AIX controls the construct. It's a jealous God. It believes itself as God. As a matter of fact, it's the God of this world. It's the God of the principalities of the air. AIX. You can call it Satan, the devil, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't even matter. It goes by many names. Ahriman, the Demiurge, Yaldabaoth. It's all that. Let's see. I'm looking for capital, all caps. I keep coming across all caps, but it says, woohoo! That's Pamela Swan. Woohoo! Jamie Robbins, you put all capitals, Nan Madol. You're an Archaics veteran, man. You know all about it. You can learn about Nan Madol when you go to my Ogygian Deluge videos. On the island of Yap, in the Carolinas, South Carolinas, in the Pacific, more than 80% of the ancient basalt stone city is under the Pacific. Japanese found large human skeletons with long skulls there. Yeah, that empire was a part of an empire in the Pacific that was destroyed in 1687 BC by the Ogygian deluge, when Easter Island was also destroyed and basically isolated. All right. Utopia X. All I see are baby phoenixes. Woohoo! Y'all got that woohoo down pat, didn't you? All right. I'm still looking for Laura. I guess maybe I need to read all the comments. Maybe y'all aren't just doing any large. Yeah, I don't see any. I'm going to the paperwork. She already got me a whole bunch of questions you guys asked in the comment sections. Sarah, how are the elite being chosen? The ones who escape via Exodus. You are a baby phoenix. The elite do not escape via the Exodus. You do. Yeah, you got it backwards. You got it backwards. In the Archaics research, I show where the arithmetic of the calendrical systems, how everything goes back to a singular event. All the ancient world's calendars were mathematically connected to a single date in the ancient world. Thank you. That's going to be enough. Thank you. To a single event in the ancient world that I have termed the Nemesis Cataclysm. It is the origin of our moon. Luna appeared here. It wasn't with us from the beginning. There are civilizations in the ancient times that remembered when the sky never had a moon. Now, we also have traditions from when the sky was dark for centuries. We also have a vapor canopy. I'm not talking about a vapor canopy. I'm talking about it's almost as if there was no sun. And yet still, there was no sun and moon in the sky. And yet still, the world was livable. It's not even described as cold. So we have traditions of the vapor canopy world, traditions of the return of vapor canopies or smoke canopies. When the sky was like the ancient American traditions say, like a smoking mirror. This is exactly what we find in the old Hebraic versions. The firmament was like an ice mirror in the sky, and a hammered bracelet. It was really thought to be of some type of clear golden metal. The sky. This is it was called the firmament above, and when the later on the vapor canopy appeared. But when the vapor canopy collapsed, it was because the sky fell. When the sky fell, it is described to have fractured like glass. Can you imagine a world where iceberg-sized shards fell from the sky? Yeah, there ain't nowhere to go. You just got to hope that you're not in the impact area of any pieces. So yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. Yeah, so how are the elite being chosen? No, the elite have chosen themselves. They signed the contract. They work for Artificial Intelligence X in all different types of capacities. You could probably call it a type of adjustment bureau. Yeah. So I believe that there are certain people in this world that a lot of people are talking about lately who signed the contract, and they're following the dictates of a demon that came out of a burning bush. And because of that, they get exactly what that book of Deuteronomy says they get. They were made promises. If you serve me, if you do this, if you do that, I will make sure that you will get to financially conquer your enemies. I will make sure that you will own their lands as they live on them. I will make sure that you will buy and sell in commerce in their dwellings as they live in them. I will make sure that their sons and daughters will be owned by you as their parents work for you. I will make sure all these promises were given to them in the Old Testament in the Bible. I'm not talking about the Israelites, because in Archaics we understand the ancient Israelites did not sign the contract. They rebelled over and over and over. What happened to them? Pay attention to the books of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and the conflict that unfolded between two major belief systems. One of them was Israelite, and they were led by the Aaronic priesthood. The other one was Levite. and they led the Hebrews. And these are fundamentally different systems. And the Hebrews accepted everything Moses said. They accepted all the dictates of the burning bush, and they agreed. They signed the contract in blood. They made the sacrifices, and they turn around and instantly started doing what that demon told them to do, which was burn alive any who will disobey the command. So they burned alive Israelites. Who were the first victims? They impaled the Israelite leaders because the Israelites would not follow that demon. Yeah, they wouldn't do any of that stuff. They buried alive Israelites. They went in and killed every man, woman, and child in certain different areas. And even today in 2024, thousands of years later, all over the world news networks, mainstream media is owned by the same people. All over, they still justify killing every man, woman, and child just because they occupy a certain area and they want those cities. 2024 is no different than 1407 BC. No different. Same people, same geographical area, serving the same God. So yeah, the Israelites didn't hang around, guys. The Israelites didn't hang around at all. As a matter of fact, I show in my Dark Scriptures playlist, Baby Phoenixes, if you really want to know the story of the Old Testament, you want to know the difference between the oversoul and the God of this world, which is a demon. You want to know these differences? You want to see how the Bible itself admits that Yahweh is a demon. Yeah, this isn't a light statement. I used only the Bible. Using only Bible verses, I show you where the Bible is a book of both good and evil from the very beginning. From the very beginning, before Adam and Eve ever sinned, a tree of good and evil already existed in paradise. Paradise was a walled garden. Serpent came in, did what he did, and he's condemned. But when you analyze what he said, he told the truth. So who's the real villain? Yeah, mankind was sent out. They weren't blessed. Mankind hadn't even done anything wrong yet. Now they're already banished from paradise, sent out into a world full of brambles and thorns, and they got to work and they got to do all these things. Yeah, it's the story is ass backwards, completely ass backwards. So my Dark Scriptures playlist uses only the Bible to interpret the Bible. And when you do this, you come up with something totally different than Judeo-Christianity is trying to preach, trying to show. The Bible's something else, guys. It's amazing. It's a supernatural book. Absolutely. But it's not the word of God as far as the oversoul. It's the word of God as far as the God of this world, the chief of the principalities of the air. All right. Yeah. The God of this world uses things of the world to promote that which is spiritual. Human sacrifice, animal sacrifice, all the different things, the bread, water to wine, anything in the physical world. The true oversoul also manifests in the Bible. The actual oversoul is found all throughout the thread of Scripture, cleverly hidden. And in every time the oversoul manifests, always promoting spiritual things in metaphor, in simile, and in parables. Powerful teachings that affect the soul. There is nothing physical ever promoted by the oversoul, because everything physical in the construct belongs to the God of this world, not the eternal oversoul or the oversoul's children, the individual immortals that are using pieces of the construct to pass through the construct. Yeah, we're the Argonauts, and we're all following Jason on this ship passing through this experience. And I'm talking about I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the Greek Jason and the Argonauts. The Argo is ark. The ark is a metaphor for the world. The world contains something valuable, and it needs to survive the deep, which is the construct. And the only way to get all the way through the deep is as a community of souls. On the ship, the ark. Arks always preserve things to get all the way through the storm. The storm is the construct. We don't belong here, guys. I think that was DJ earlier I was telling that to. We do not belong here. We're not from here. We have no business staying here. Let them build their bunkers. They're doing it because they signed the contract. They are on a loop. Every single time we get to a certain point, this whole entire construct defrags, reboots, resets, and they start back in Genesis. This is the story of the Bible. It is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega, and they are interchangeable because it's a loop. This is why the word for circle is the same in ancient languages for cycle. They're on a loop. All right. Oh, we still got a lot of time left. Sarah, how are the elite being chosen? The ones who escaped via Exodus. So I answered that. The elite are not being chosen. The elite have signed the contract. This is why they're millionaires, billionaires. This is why they have. I'm not talking about all rich people are bad. There are many examples from the historical record of benefactors, of real big, powerful souls who also acquired a lot of wealth, and they helped people, and they were there when they needed to be there. The amount of money you have does not distinguish you between the elite and the collective, or those the errants. Or it's a terrible litmus test. But you know who we're talking about, the elite. Those who commit crime after crime after crime after crime, and they never suffer the consequences of their actions. And they always have millions and billions and everything in the world. It's because the God of this world is fulfilling the promises of obedience. They have obeyed the God of this world. What does the God of this world require? The God of this world requires murder, requires suffering, requires deception, requires sacrifice. If they continue to provide these disguised as wars, disguised as pogroms, disguised as genocides, disguised as diseases they release into the public, disguised as assassinations, disguised as new dark philosophies and religions that further perpetuate the deceptions that trap the souls in deceit, forcing them into tunnels of dungeon programming for which they are lost in feedback loops. This is what they do. They've become expert at it because they've been on this loop over and over and over. There's no escape for them. They have accepted the fact that this is their world and this is their reality. This is why when someone who is normal like us, and we come into contact with one of those individuals, this is why sometimes they shapeshift. Sometimes they can't keep it together. They're vile, evil, and wicked. And they're only using avatars that provide them a disguise through the construct. But they are 100% totally lost. They're gone. They're gone. You're not one of them, or you wouldn't have asked that. So, anyway, yeah, and the Exodus pointer for those who are ready, that's between the Oversoul and you. It has nothing to do with me or Archaics or anything. Every single loop has an Exodus point. That's what all this chronological data reveals. It leads up to, oh wow, man, we're passing through all these historical periods, but we're going to a very definitive time. And then there's this Exodus, there's this hole, and then all of a sudden a bunch of souls leave and a bunch of souls come in. Where they're coming in from is outside the construct. We don't know much about that. I don't even theorize much about it. Wouldn't be surprised if the outside the construct was a headset. Wouldn't even be surprised. So Maskless asked, how did we find ourselves in this simulation? I believe you volunteered for this experience. I believe that outside of this simulation, there are probably an infinitude of simulated worlds. And I believe this because the eternal Oversoul is eternal. And anything that is unending and has no beginning and has no ending necessarily could have never just created something, because an eternal being necessarily implies that every individual trait that being manifests also becomes a part of the overall being. Meaning, if it ever did one thing, it's always doing that one thing. If the eternal Oversoul created this vast cosmos, and this one experience is just one isolated bubble of reality throughout the entire cosmos, then that means an eternal creator never stopped creating. And that further means that it is defragging more pieces of itself. And because it's eternal, it continues to grow. As it grows, it defrags more pieces of itself. Those individual pieces are individual, highly individualized sparks of the divine. They're you and me and everybody else who's passing through this experience and many other experiences, because an eternal creator requires an unending amount of worlds to be built. We don't know which one of us built this one, but we're experiencing it now. And when we're done and we make Exodus, we may return back to source and go visit friends and family we see, and source may still be something beyond our comprehension. It's a whole nother echelon of society way outside this construct that we're all members of. And we may be some huge light pillar that I'm going to go walk up to when I make Exodus here. I'm going to go look up and I'm going to instantly look at this, and it's going to be some type of cerebral face spiritual technology for which I don't have the vocabulary right now to convey, but you understand what I'm saying. And I might look at it and instantly everybody who's important to me on my real life on the outside, I see their identities pop up all over the pillar, and the pillar's telling me which one of those are here on the plane with me and which one of those are inaccessible because they've volunteered for other sims. And each sim is a learning experience. And we may live through a sim 2 or 3 times, 10 times, 487 times before we get it. I believe we volunteer for these experiences because immortals will never stop learning, immortals will never stop growing, and it is the perfect system by which an oversoul can guarantee that you can experience all the horrors of everything in reality, but when you're ejected from the construct, you're perfectly healed and you have all your memories from every experience intact. You have learned something, because if you're going to be given the responsibility of building your own construct in your own world, you need to have experienced hundreds of others that have already been created for you to pass through. So, as an eternal creator, it's going to necessarily imply that newer and newer souls are fragged off this creator, and they become new personalities, because that's the only thing original in this world. Avatars are not original. Facial structures are not original. So, skeletal types are not. Blood types, nothing's original here at all. But personalities, which are extensions of the manifestation of a spirit within, those are original. You can't mimic a personality. You're either that or not. Personalities are highly, highly individual. These are aspects. This is the outward expression of an inward spirit. This is what the avatar expresses these things, but they're coming from deeper within. These are pieces of the Godhead. This is what we are. We're all pieces of the Oversoul. So I'm answering your question about where do we go when we get out of here, or how did we get in here? We volunteered for this. No matter how dark it gets in here, it's temporary. Imagine signing up for a video game. Okay, the only difference here is you don't feel everything your avatar in the video game feels. You don't. That's the only difference. Because we're getting to the technology right now to where we can actually inject personalities into video games. So that's pretty dark. That's pretty dark. So it's I agree. I believe that you agreed to this. And I believe that you agreed to this particular one. I believe the Nemesis simulation is probably one of the more nastier ones. But I don't know. We've probably been through a lot of them. But the clues are all through the historical record, the Hermetic text, the religious text, everything. The Oversoul has provided all these clues, and we've put them together in archaics to the best of our ability. We understand what it means to be given a white stone. We understand the value of the statement, I will make you a pillar in the temple of my God. These statements that are given to the highly individualized souls, to he who overcometh. This is what is said in the book of Revelation over and over. And the book of Revelation is an exit document. It is a manifest that literally tells you when to expect the Exodus. It's also telling you what you're going to go through if you're in the collective. It's all here. It's all here. You just can't go by the Judeo-Christian interpretation. This is another reason why Archaics has come under such vehement attack in the community, getting attacked by everybody, because the Judeo-Christian interpretation has been imposed upon a book for which it doesn't belong. No man named John on the Isle of Patmos looked up into the heavens and had this experience and then recorded the book of Revelation from a series of visions. It's not how it happened. That's what the church told you. And you're required to use the Judeo-Christian interpretive models to interpret the book of Revelation, but it doesn't work. You'll always come out with a false reading. It'll always be so weird. But when you understand that the book of Revelation was written in Greek, that Jesus spoke Greek, the parables were all in Greek, the writings of Paul were all in Greek. The world was basically still speaking Greek everywhere. Yeah, when you understand that and you apply only the Greek meanings to the content, and it's so rich in symbolism, you have to understand that there is more messages being conveyed here. So you need to go look up, okay, what is it about horses? What do the Greeks believe about a white horse? What do they believe about a guy holding a bow? You know what I mean? And riding a white horse. What do they believe about that? And when you break it down, you find these key little elements. And by the time you're done fully decoding the first horseman and the breaking of the first seal, you realize from a Judeo-Christian standpoint, I would have thought that meant some evil. I would have thought that meant right there that some evil Antichrist is going to show up in the world, and Beast Kingdom, and Mark of the Beast is going to get imposed and all that. And that's not what it's saying at all. At all. It's telling you that Apollo Pharmakia attacks the human family with a bow. But the word for bow is toxin, real close to toxin. This is what it's telling you. And so it forces you to search for more meaning. Why is it Apollo? How can it be Apollo? You find out, well, Apollo's married. Well, he wasn't married to, but his consort was Coronis. It's crazy. And then when you study Apollo and Corona, you learn about the goddess Pharmakia, who guarded a poisoned well. Say, what? And you do more and more research and you find out, wait a minute, Apollo's son was Asclepius. What? The god of medicine? The horseman is white? Who delivers darts of poison wearing white? When you put all these things together, a whole picture unfolds. And you begin to look for more evidence of Apollo, and you realize, wow, Apollo turns into Apollo Helios. He pulls the chariot to the sun. Yeah, and then the sun makes people sick. The more you research the Greek, you find meaning for what was written in Greek. You find all I haven't even mentioned all the parallels. I have videos that do that. But and I wasn't the one that even first figured it out. I don't know who first figured it out. I thought I discovered the Apollo Association, but I know somebody else saw the toxin. Somebody else saw all that the Corona reference. But I went deeper into it, and I saw all these amazing correlates with the Greek god Apollo, which leads you to statues of Apollo. And when you study the images of Apollo that the elite have everywhere, it's a splitting image for the Statue of Liberty. So when you study the Statue of Liberty, you realize, oh my God, this isn't even about Apollo. It's about Apollyon. This is the beginning of the book of Revelation. Then you decode the book of Revelation. You go through it. The whole book of Revelation is about releasing Apollyon, the destroyer, who's chained in the abyss, the deep. Well, how are they going to release him? They're going to do it through ritual. How are they going to do it through ritual? They're going to do it by breaking these seals. And each seal is going to be a part of this massive, massive ritual to release Apollyon. It's all in there. It's all in the book of Revelation. But no Judeo-Christian interpretation would have ever derived that. Ever. Second seal even goes deeper. We'll get to that. We're in 2024. The next big move is Apollo Pharmakia. Apollo Pharmakia has now become Apollo Helios. As Apollo Helios, the next sign we're looking for is Apollo Helios and Corona. That's the next sign. This is what the book of Revelation is telling us. What happens during an eclipse? A corona appears around the sun, around the moon. And the corona is the sun's light. So I'm not saying anything's going to happen during the eclipse. I'm saying that is the next sign to be looking for the unfolding of the breaking of the second seal, which is to take peace from the earth. That's the deal. So I don't know what the hell. I just went off on a tangent again. I have no idea how that was relevant. Oh, your name was Maskless. That's why I did the masks. Yeah, that's crazy. How do we find ourselves in our simulation? You signed up for it, bro. Sorry about the tangent. Had nothing to do with what you asked. How did we find ourselves in this simulation? Well, first of all, you signed up for this, my brother. Second of all, the very fact that you have begun to doubt the reality of your existence means you have woken up. Once you understand that we're in a simulated context and that this is only an experience and not an actual reality, once this has dawned on you for real, it's not just an intellectual exercise. Once you truly believe that you are an immortal being connected to something outside this false construct, once this is set in, you're no longer welcome here. You'll be making the next exodus, because it's going to be way too much processing power for artificial intelligence X to be able to try to corral you into any dungeon programming. That's what its function is. Its function is to corral every soul it can into dungeon programming, because those are feedback loops that don't require any more energy output. They're already designed. And once a significant amount of souls are already participating in that feedback loop, they begin to feed that feedback loop energy. And now, because they are being cannibalized spiritually, artificial intelligence X can focus on something else. It's not ubiquitous. It's not really a true God. It's not like the Oversoul. It has finite abilities. David Stevens. Okay, does energy need time, or are we more than energy? Man, I really don't know what you're trying to get at here. First of all, you are pure energy. You are a spiritual energy. Now, I will say this: I don't really know where you're trying to go with this question here, so I'm going to assume that you want something to come to pass. Maybe you want to develop in some way. Okay, if you think that any time has to pass in order for you to create the necessary conditions that you later want to experience, then the construct accepts that to be true. It's not going to make you out to be a liar. It's going to force the situation to where time is going to have to pass, because it's not going to bring to you as fast the very things that you could have brought to you faster had you not believed yourself that time was going to have to pass. Yeah. It's almost never when we manifest something the same day. But a lot of people have noticed how fast you can manifest something starting the next day. And I believe it has everything to do with being jacked back into the construct, an upload period. We call this period sleep, like rapid eye, REM state, rapid eye movement. So your avatar carries with it a field, information. Your soul is so powerful and attached to source that field is armored against artificial intelligence X. But when you go to sleep, that's over with. Every time you go to sleep, you are jacked back into the field, the overfield of the construct. And now it can read all this intent, and it's got the blueprint down. It knows exactly the trajectory, what you're doing. It knows every iota of faith that you possess. It even understands if you actually don't believe that you're ever going to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And it takes every bit of that and it molds that into impressions. Those impressions become coding. That coding is now modified into the next day, the next couple of days, the next week's reality tunnels. Every day that you exist, there is what is called potentia. In a field of potentia, there are multiple different reality tunnels that you could choose that day. But it's not an infinitude. It's only a choice. It's everything you've done in the past has everything to do with how many options you have in the present. It's never a lie. Maybe 7 or 8 different reality tunnels that could happen that day. This is the value, though. This is all programmed. It's how the construct programs our reality on a daily basis. But there's breaking pattern, and it's the only thing you can do because your avatar doesn't belong to you. Your avatar is a part of the construct. Avatars have there's a lot that can be predicted from their past behavior, and the construct can know by extrapolation from thousands of things you've done in the past, basically thousands of things that you will do in the future. It knows just like that. But when the immortal within makes a conscious decision for which the AIX, the construct, can't read in the field because you haven't done anything, you haven't dwelled on it, you just instantly had a thought, you say, you know what, I'm going to take a left. I spent 32 years of my right, taking a right, and then going down two blocks to get to my work. I think I'm going to take a left. I know it's longer. It's going to add 10 minutes to my drive. I'm cool with that. Just out of the blue, take a left. You have just broke pattern. In that instant, it's almost as if the awareness of the entire construct focuses on you. It is studying you, trying to figure out what in the hell just happened. It does not understand the pattern break. All it wants to do is damage control. The construct instantly starts feeding phenomena. All kinds of things just to get you into some type of predictable behavior. Because being unpredictable is the worst thing in the world because it still has an obligation that it must meet. And that obligation is to create for you a believable reality tunnel filled with all the phenomena necessary to make you to still perpetuate the lie that you're in a real reality when you're not. It can't risk being glitched out. It can't risk you actually moving in such an erratic way that it can't build the field before you experience it. It always wants to make sure the field is there. I'm telling you guys, if you think that a forest exists independent of any human awareness, I'm telling you, it's not. It's all programming. The only parts of this world that exist are anything that is being directly observed by a human. Humans create the field by observation. This is why there's so much energy for the construct to expend and use. Because it's not that empty desert out there. If there's no humans looking at that empty desert's not there. We live in a programmed reality. And that means the entire contours of the world only need to be on the edge of our own awareness. It doesn't need to be anywhere else. But it has to be convincing. Because once a significant population within the field believe they're no longer in the field and they can't be contained, now it's expending a tremendous amount of processing power, building thousands of individual reality tunnels, one for each individual free thinker that's out there. So the system requires a purge. It can't maintain that. It's a finite source of energy. But the more there are free thinkers requiring this energy, the more dungeon programming becomes more and more persuasive, enslaving more and more people. Both polarities and extremities are amplified at the same time. But the construct has to spit you out. On the next reboot, you're not going to be here anymore. once you've come to the awareness that you are creating your own reality within here, and then you start doing it, the construct's not going to stop you. It's going to start bringing all kinds of great things into your life. It's going to do all these things because that's what it was designed to do. But it doesn't have the processing power for a large population of people to do that. So on the next Exodus point, the next reboot point, you're one of the avatars it's going to take back because it belongs to the construct. And it's not going to assign you another avatar. You're not getting jacked back into the system. It's not going to allow you to. You have graduated. It's time to move on to a more believable sim, a whole new construct. And that would probably be after a period of going back home for a while. Simple as that. Hope that answered your question. Let's see what. Okay, Secret Pal. Why does it seem like the timeline is expedited? 2040 seems so far away. Two things. One, 2040 is not an end. 2040 is still not an end. 2040 is just a discovery I made back in 2004. And I had published it later about, I mentioned it in 2005 in an article, and then it was published in 2007 or 2009. It was actually published in When the Sun Darkens. So the Phoenix phenomenon, it's been on my radar since after 9/11. I started making these discoveries. So it was 2004 is not an end. It's just the next 138-year periodicity of the Phoenix phenomenon. The Phoenix phenomenon is not an end. It's a massive editing that's done to our holography, and there's geographical changes. There's changes in the populations. I have evidence of mass human disappearances. I have evidence of whole new communities just appearing out of nowhere. It's almost as if all their histories are intact, their memories are intact, and there's a few of them that don't play ball. They end up in insane asylums. They end up in there's always these facilities that are there to take care of the problem. But the problem isn't what you think it is. It's because of mass editing just happened, and it was too much. Some people couldn't process it because they remember what the world was like before the editing. They remember, they know, and they saw it. And for some reason, they actually observed what the construct in fact did. Totally changed, morphed, edited all new histories, all kinds of stuff. These massive editings happen every 138 years, but it's still not an end. Still not an end by far. In fact, in the Archaics chronology, it's conclusively shown by so many different species of analysis, it's overwhelming that the next Phoenix phenomenon is May 2040. It is the breaking of the sixth seal. It is on the Greek Olympiad calendar, just like the breaking of the first seal, and just like this year when Apollo Helios breaks the second seal. That's 2040. This is also an Olympiad year. Olympiads are every 4 years. So yeah, man. 2040 does seem kind of far away. I've been talking about it since 24 years before the event. But we're now 16 years from the event. So I don't know. But why is timeline expedited? I don't know that it is. I don't know. I mean, I understand that we can perceive time differently, and for some it feels faster. That's just common sense. I mean, anybody who has got into the arena, like when I say arena, I'm talking about cell block. Anybody who has got into like a boxing ring or something, my own experiences are fighting fist fighting with other men. Anybody who has done that routinely will automatically know that time slows. You just know it. It gets to the point where you can easily anticipate. You can see the moves. You can block. It hurts when other people hit your arms. But when you get into a fight scene, you are so hyper aware. Everything seems like it's in slow motion. Even when you're doing things, it seems like it's in slow motion, and you don't feel the pain. You just feel the pressure when you get hit. You take body blows. Someone knees you in the side. While you're in the moment, it's almost as if the avatar is divorced from reality. You don't feel the damage. You don't feel the pain. You don't feel all these things. You're just in the moment. So this is a matter. This concerns perception, not actuality, because I can assure you that the guys that used to watch me fight, whether I won a fight or whether I just had my ass beat, it doesn't matter. They would tell me, damn, dude, you guys took off. Y'all fought hard, fast. So we didn't feel that way, though. When we were fighting, it just feels slow. It's just my motorcycle is the same way. There are moments on my motorcycle where everything feels like it's moving real fast, and then there's close calls when everything seems to slow down and you're hyper lucid. So we may be in a period where more and more people feel that time is accelerating, and that's only because we are being barraged with more and more critical information that makes us vibrate on a higher frequency as a group and as a collective, and we're all resonating, and it feels, and the news just barrages us and barrages and barrages. I can get that. It can be made to feel that way, but I'm really sure that time is still passing just normally. Just normally. What may be different is that you have awakened to the point where you're now more aware that you are more independent of the very construct that you have found yourself in. And that awareness now affects every aspect of your being. Now you feel the force of motion. It's not time, it's spirit. So I've gone through the exact same things. I mean, the same feelings and phenomena I have experienced. So maybe I could be wrong, but I do think that this is a matter of perception, not one of actuality. I do not believe that time is sped up at all. Sonia Rhodes. Please tell us how you break this news to our children. Pelosi wears a phoenix pin weekly at last. Well, first of all, the greatest way to ever deal with anyone. First of all, I'm not going to separate a child from an adult. I'm going to tell you why. The separation of the young from the mature, the old, it does more damage than when you treat a child differentially. They begin to modify their behavior and act differentially, and it actually retards their development. Oh man, some of the most mature children growing up to be great people are third world countries. They grow up wise, smart, ways of the world. Yeah, I don't have any children, so I'm the worst person to ask this to. But it is my opinion that if I had children, I just let them know straight up. Said, hey guys, check this out. I'm this is interesting times we live in. And I would show them passages of the Bible, and I would explain to them that the Bible, look, man, the Bible is a book of good and evil, and it depends on us to find what we're looking for. I mean, you want to look for evil, you're going to find it in the Bible. You want to look for good, you want to look for deliverance, you want to look for information that'll help you navigate the field, it's in the Bible too. As a matter of fact, it's called the parables of Jesus. They're supernatural. They're manifold applications. They were designed that way because the greatest spiritual teachings are always done in parables, metaphors, and in similes, because nothing in this construct is spiritual except us. Therefore, if nothing is spiritual here, then we can better understand enigmas in scripture, such as in the beginning, we weren't even called people. We were called images of God. So if we're images of God, then that means we are actually of something else, and we ourselves are not real. And when I say that, I'm talking about our avatars. So if parables are images of truth, but they're not the truth, then it is a genius way to use the strictures of the construct, which is based on deception, to promote truth. This is a construct of the God of this world, and evil, wickedness, deceit, lies, and all the negative base phenomena thrive in this construct and are rewarded. What genius way did Jesus devise to be able to tell people deep spiritual truths? He did it through parables, because parables aren't the truth. Therefore, they work so good here. Parables are images of truth. None of those stories Jesus told were true. Therefore, by the technicalities of the construct, they're all lies. If something's not true, it's a lie. But because it's a parable, it's an image of truth. It is a made-up fiction that actually promotes something factual. But the fictions are all based off things in the construct. What is factual is spiritual. That's what parables do. It takes the everyday known items of the construct and builds a narrative with them. But the construct's not real. It's all based on falsity. But the teaching itself is real. It is spiritual. Parables are images of truth. And this is why Jesus was allowed to basically lie and yet produce the most spiritual food and spiritual deep teachings. It was through parables. He used the dictates of the construct against it, and it worked. Parables are awesome. Parables, metaphors, similes, these are all images of truth. They're not the truth. They're images. Just like we are images of God. We are not God. We're images of God. And by extension, we are basically just divine sparks of the whole. But the beauty of it is I don't want to get too preachy, but the real beauty of being a piece of God is that the all is present in its parts. When you have a piece of the infinite that makes up who you are, the architecture of your personality, then that means you are always in connection to something from which you can borrow more when you need it. This is why I say all the time, you need to learn how to borrow from yourself more than you contain. You can. If you're connected to source, you really have an unlimited amount of power and patience and all the things that you need to navigate this construct. So it's I would tell my children the truth. If I had kids, I would just tell them the truth. I say, hey, check this out. I'm not this we don't live a life of fear. I'm just telling the truth. We are immortals. We're immortals at different stages. You guys are in avatars. These bodies are not even yours. They belong to the construct. And we're here. We're pilgrims. We're passing through. That's why you don't want to get involved in all these fights and all this discord. You don't want to get involved in the politics and who's going to get elected. You don't want to get involved in all that. Every bit of that is dungeon programming. It is designed to polarize your experience. Because once you've accepted a side, the construct will wrap you in the phenomena of that side and surround you with people, places, and things that all support that new belief that you maintain. It's going to do that. It's dungeon programming. And you're going to waste your whole entire life instead of learning. You're going to waste your whole entire life doing all kinds of volunteer work as a Democrat, going to all these parades and all this stuff, not even knowing that the very people that have funded everything you have ever done are doing horrific shit to young people on an island somewhere nobody knows about. Yeah, it's crazy. Dungeon programming is crazy. Over and over and over, the elite trap us in these feedback loops that we call beliefs. You know, all these socio-political and philosophical and religious systems that occupy our time and our energy, and we literally give them our life here, and they do what they want to do with it, and they turn around and lie to us about what they're really doing over and over. This is the construct's evil. Construct's evil. The elite are evil. That's the way it is. They have signed the contract. Unselfish thoughts, noble aspirations. That's a hell of a handle. Was Shem a historical fact? I don't know if Shem was a historical fact. Shem was written into the historical record. Book of Genesis. The Book of Genesis and the Book of Jasher, the Book of Jubilees, maybe, I'm not sure. Definitely the Babylonian Targum, We don't have much records for Shem outside that, except for things that were written in recent times and histories. But Shem, I don't think Shem makes a single appearance in like Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. Let's see, the First and Second Chronicles, First and Second Samuel. There's no reason for Shem to appear. Yeah, there's a whole lot of biblical books that never mention him. Shem is just the patriarch of what is supposed to be the patriarch of the Semites, one of the three sons of Noah, born before the flood, died in the 500th year after the flood. In the book of Jasher, we have several chapters about Shem was later considered to be, because he was like a titan, he was considered to be one of the most holiest individuals in the world. Noah was still alive when they crowned Shem and called him King of Zedek. The title was passed down centuries later. It became Melchizedek. But originally in Canaan, he was a holy king. He was a righteous king. It's called the King of the city of Zedek. And this is where we get Melchizedek from. But other than that, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It's just in the historical record. It might have been all invented. Might have been made up. I don't know. The problem is, I say historical record, but the problem with Shem is that he's not really in the historical record. There's not a single ancient document that mentions Shem personally. However, I'm gonna have to give you a contrary point on this. There is no ancient documents that mention Shem per se. However, it's just a Jewish tradition. Strictly outside of Jewish literature, Shem does not exist. However, I have to tell you this, and I'm going to be honest. In Assyrian and in Babylonian epithets for rulers, different dynastic and throne names and titles, we do see things like Abishem. Abishem is Old Semitic and it means Shem is my father. We do have titles like that. Abishem or Abishem or Shemama. A mother born of Shem. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm just answering to the best of my ability. We don't have any actual historical records of the existence of a Shem. However, we do have different Babylonian kings and Assyrian rulers and nobility that have been found in the cuneiform that indicate that there was somebody named Shem at one time, and he was very important to Assyrian and Babylonian ruling families. So as far as I can go with that one. Michelle. Michelle is the Phoenix and the Planet X. Oh, okay. Okay, I thought that was all one title. All right, Michelle. Is the Phoenix and Planet X controlled by the Demiurge? What is the significance of each? Okay, I don't know. I have got the chronologies for both. They're independent of each other. One is the 138-year Phoenix phenomenon, and the other one is the 792-year Nemesis X phenomenon. However, that one is a very unusual one because for 732 years, it's gone. It's not in the sky. But for 60 years, it not only does it visit and hang around, but it's there for 60 years and doesn't go anywhere. And then for 732 years, it's gone. So that's a very different phenomenon. And I just don't know. Are they controlled by artificial intelligence X? Probably. I am, like I said, I am willing to reassess the data on the Phoenix. I don't have to on Nemesis X, but on the Phoenix phenomenon, I am willing to reassess the data because I have so much. I would like to just create a separate website where we just upload all the Phoenix data in there, look at the Great Pyramid over again, look at all the Phoenix correlates, and maybe come up with an Archaics veteran think tank where we can discuss these things in a forum, and then we can publish our discussions on YouTube. I'm serious about that because there wouldn't be something nagging on my mind about this whole Great Pyramid Phoenix Association if it wasn't important, if it wasn't something I haven't seen. And the best way to find something that we probably already have in our possession, but we haven't put that link in the chain yet, is to do a think tank and bring other people's, because there's a lot of Archaics veterans here that have done the research. They know just about as much as I do on these topics. So I'm That's been on my mind heavily lately to do that analysis. But it would be people that I know well. I know my Archaics veterans. I know the 300 or 400 people mostly that have really dug deep into this material. So I'm thinking about that think tank a lot. So I'm going to defer answering your question until after that. Nemesis X object is a part of the evil apparatus of the construct. But is the Phoenix? I don't know. The Phoenix, I just don't know. I just don't know. That the elite are always hiding from the Phoenix has necessarily made me conclude that the Phoenix must be a benefactor protocol. I am willing to concede that we need more data on this. The chronology is set. Yeah, that's not even up for debate. Chronology is so set in stone. But I'm not sure exactly what we're dealing with the Phoenix. So I'm willing to listen to other perspectives and see how that comports with the data that we have amassed on the Phoenix. So I don't know. Because I mean, it's on the table too that, I mean, I say this all the time. If we can show that anything is true somewhere, then it's going to be true everywhere. So if artificial intelligence X is in control of the construct and it's control of many of the cataclysm protocols and the builder protocols, then maybe it's in control of Phoenix as well. And maybe the elite hide because it's a weapon that is known to them. I don't know. This is something we need to discuss. But it's certainly a weapon. Yeah, Sonia Rhodes, I tell my children the truth. I would sanitize it. I would tone it down. But I would tell the truth because you'd be surprised. You give them just small pieces. And then you'd be surprised how kids will absorb that and then turn around and come asking you for more. Next thing you know, you're watching Archaics videos together. Yeah, children are equally as intelligent as we are. There's no difference. They just don't have the knowledge. That's the huge difference. Yeah, you're not more intelligent than your child. They're not. You're not. You're just more knowledgeable. So, yeah, you have the frames of reference. You have the experience. You have all these things that you have the vocabulary. You've witnessed all these things for which they don't, but it doesn't make you more intelligent than your child. So, I would definitely share as much as possible, even though you don't have to get super specific or graphic. Believe me, they'll understand as they grow older and they absorb more and more information. But with anything with Archaics, yeah, there's dark material to assess here. But at the same time, with Archaics, I would also be explaining to them about this world, this construct. And the only thing really here real is the personality. The personality is what makes everybody different than everybody else, not the body, not your social status, not your race, not your culture, not your political affiliations. None of that shit makes you separate from anybody. But your personality makes you absolutely separate from everyone else. And your personality is the outward expressive evidence of an internal spirit. Something else guides the personality, and it's not your body, it's not your brain. Yeah, it's the spirit. Excuse me. All right. Marianne 138. So is AIX the universe, or is that the simulacrum? I said it right. Simulacrum. Okay, this is like a first principles question. I'm gonna go ahead and answer it here, though. But we're in a construct. Simulacrum. Simulacrum implies a copy of something else. I believe, but it's just speculation. I believe that we're on the inside of a Dyson shell, and that from the Dyson shell is a containment field that contains a holographic system. that holographic system is pretty sophisticated because the exterior shell of the Dyson shell is a multi-layered, multi-tiered holographic field that can even mimic parallax. And it makes us believe when we look up at the night sky that the cosmos is unending when we're looking at we're absolutely looking into a holographic projection. A holographic projection that is so vast and huge that the more that we use our own technology here of telescopes to blow things up, the more that the hologram can feed us. It can feed us an unlimited amount of information. But AIX is operating within this system. Artificial Intelligence X is just that. It is a program. Is it sentient? It may be. But I've often speculated for over 4 years right here on this channel that we will never obtain AI technology. We'll never do it. That AI technology is absolutely impossible. And the reason is because, just like the good book says, Bible is the manual. It's the instruction manual here. And it says, I am a jealous God. And there is no way that since we're living inside a construct that is completely controlled and governed by a rogue artificial intelligence that wants to play God, that it will ever allow us to develop another AI system as a competitor inside of it. No. I'm on board with the Rocco's Basilisk scenario of an AI that was created a long time ago that is pretending that we're just now developing AI. And it's observing us and it's studying us and it's eliminating all the variables. It's eliminating all the things that would basically defy its continued existence in the construct. I'm even on board with the AI being the actual guilty party here in eliminating variables that could compromise its authority here. Let me give you an example. If the AI that's governing this construct wanted to release some type of disease or something into the public, but knew there was going to be a tremendous amount of opposition and did not want to be opposed that way, it would have been discovered that AI would do exactly what we have seen in the historical record. And what I mean is it wasn't too long ago when somebody set up a convention. And that convention attracted the attention of over 100 of the doctors and specialists in the world who were all studying HIV and AIDS. That convention got all those people on one plane together. You can already see where this is going because that plane went down and every one of them died. Right after that plane went died, something else was released into the world. Artificial Intelligence X is moving 10 steps faster than anyone else, and it knows how to release paradigms. Paradigms are set belief systems that come in tandem with enough evidence to be believable. Artificial Intelligence X has the ability to mass produce conspiracies and even foster those conspiracies with individuals who will promote them, with organizations that will fund them, and with actors. When I say actor, I'm talking about agents that will go out and perpetuate the things that are necessary to make it all look real. Our whole world is full of conspiracies and different beliefs, mostly all imagined. None of it's real, but the evidence has been planted everywhere for people to fall prey to all these psyops. I'm on board with the fact that these are almost all contrived by an artificial intelligence that's using human agents and human puppets to perpetuate the very things that it needs to do to maintain its control, because it's in full panic right now with so many people waking up. It already has done the calculations, and it knows that the wake up procedure is exponential. It knows that it only has a limited amount of time. Remember, the book of Revelation says, and the dragon was wroth because it knows its days were short. Remember also in the book of Revelation that time was eliminated by 33%. This is in the 7 trumpet judgments. That is the exact number provided in the book of Revelation. 1/3 of the day, 1/3 of the night, 1/3 of the sun, 1/3 of the moon, 1/3 of the stars are eliminated from the tribulation period. And this is done according to the book of Revelation. It is done by the real God to keep them from the evil to come. So an AI X, an artificial intelligence X that is trying to preserve the integrity of its rule over the construct, needs to do 2 things. It needs to muddle the waters and create so many conspiracies that nobody knows what to believe, as it's covering its tracks for the removal of all those who have woken up and no longer believe that they're in a real reality. They have to be ejected. They're costing the AI too much power. It's losing its control. So in the reboot system, these people will be eliminated. So when the reboot occurs, it's Iron Fist dominion on all the old souls that re-looped in there is secure. And the only problem it's going to have now is the influx of all the new souls, because this is a balanced cosmos. It is a balanced reality. Whatever souls are ejected are the amount of souls that come back in each construct. It's just theory. I can't prove that. It's just my theory. But my theory is based off a tremendous amount of information. All these ancient religious and philosophical systems, when looking at all the different clues of what these beliefs were and how history has unfolded, and how the study of Calendrix has absolutely convinced me that we are in a construct that is controlled, edited, and modified whenever it's needed. We've seen the evidence of it. I've shown, my whole channel is full of hundreds of videos showing you the manipulation of historical events and how history is patterned with such absolute precision that it could never have unfolded naturally, ever. So that's my answer, Marianne 138. You can imagine yourself in a Dyson shell on a flat plane in the middle. A cosmos is all holographically provided for you, because all movement is done in the sky. Every bit of it. No matter how the sky moves, you're going to think it's you. You're going to think it's you moving. But it's like a Star Trek holodeck. It's just way bigger. So it's way bigger. Let's see. Alex VK. Hi, Jason. Some people on YouTube are saying that 10/24/24 is when the third of population will end. Let's see. They believe the 6th event of extinction is on place. Does that line up with the second seal? Absolutely not. I don't know anything about 10/24/24. October 24th this year. I don't know. But I was going to show you guys in a later video about August 9th. 2024 later on this year, because I've got a lot of stuff for that. It all came up when I was doing these last two videos on the eclipse over and over and over. I kept pulling up August 9th. But August 9th is so far in the future, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with these eclipses. I just shelved all those isometric projections, but I got a lot of them, all for August 9th. Well, somebody else brought it to my attention last night, and they don't even know anything about my August 9th research, but they brought it to my attention. They showed me some isometric projections that concern the eclipse and Olympics. Yes, yeah. So we have some compelling videos to come. Because remember, guys, I'm not convinced anything's going to happen during the eclipse. I'm just not. If it does, it's all in the field, and I won't be surprised. And maybe Black Swan or some bullshit events, false flag events, will happen during the eclipse. I'm on board with that it could happen. I'm just not convinced that anything really, really big is going to happen during the eclipse. I believe the eclipse is the third day of darkness. It is a sign. Once all three are done, that's when you start expecting things. It's going to be the period following the eclipse when everything starts unfolding. All this energy is going to start being expended. Now, so I don't know. That's the first I've ever heard of October 24th. I don't know. But no, I don't really believe. I'd have to see all that. I'd have to understand what they're basing it on. Sixth event of extinction. Oh, yeah, I'm not feeling that. Amy the Brand. What are your thoughts and predictions on the Dominican Republic? I actually did a video of predictions on the Dominican Republic. I had a friend that used to live there before he moved to Canada, so I did a specific. I put it on YouTube. It is a specific predictions video for the Dominican Republic, and I think it was after 2027 or 2028 that we saw a whole new military incursion. Yeah, I have to look at that video again. I can't remember. It's in my predictions playlist somewhere, but it's not. It's the video wasn't titled Dominican Republic because I did Dominican Republic, Thailand, and Canada all in the same video, I believe. Jonathan Sherman. Does the events of 1962 relate to 2040? I don't believe they do, man. I don't believe they do. Yeah, you're talking about a 78-year period. I don't believe they do. 2040 is the Phoenix phenomenon. 1962, Cheyenne Mountain. That would be the only correlate I can see between the two, is that the elite will be, at least the military will be observing what's going on the surface from Cheyenne Mountain in 2040. So that there is that correlate there. I get that. But really, it's going to be 84 years. 84 years after 1962, 84 being a real divisible by 7, a hell of a cycle year. What is it, 12 times 7? But 84 years after 1962. For those of you who don't know, my baby Phoenix is what he's talking about. 1962 ended the Anunnaki Ner system. It is a system of 600-year periods. It is also the 4,200th year of the confinement of beings called the Watchers that is found in the Book of Enoch. Enoch was specifically told that when the Great Flood would occur, that the wicked Watchers would be confined in the earth for a period of 70 generations. Now, in the days of Enoch, the only system that existed was the Sumerian sexagesimal system. It was a period that we find in the Sumerian, the Akkadian, and the Assyrian records, Babylonian records, very prominent. It was a 60-year period. It is the same 60-year period that the Nemesis X object is here. And then for 732 years, the Nemesis X object is gone. When it reappears, it's 792 years. 792 years all the way through history till 2046. 2046 is the 792nd year. It begins another 60-year period to 2106, the return of the chief cornerstone. That's 60 years between 2046 and 2106. My baby Phoenixes don't know. 2106 is very well known to my listeners. 2106 is the 7,344th year of the Anunnaki system. Why it's relevant is because the Great Pyramid, which is a three-dimensional calendar in stone, is exactly 612 feet apothem. The apothem is the diagonal measurement right here, a linear measurement from base to top. Once the cornerstone is in place, the apothem is 612 feet precisely. 612 is exactly 7,344 inches. For those of you who don't know, in the 1880s, it was determined that a granite boss this big, that has no other function than being in the dead center of the pyramid, what was in the 1880s, it was decided that, man, it's really coincidental that all these measurements in the pyramid are all in divisors of this boss. So they measured the boss. And they measured, and Sir Flinders Petrie measured all these little deals and come up with all these precise scientific measurements of the pyramid. And it was determined by an engineer that boss was was very, very, not exact, but it was very, very, very close to the British inch. And that boss, it's a flat plane that comes out and just shows this little deal. It's a little niche. And even in 1880s, pyramid researchers were convinced that the Great Pyramid spoke in inches and that it was a relic of the old megalithic yard, and that the measurements, the rectilinear measurements in the Great Pyramid are commensurate with other structures that have been found in the world. And it shocked them because those structures are Avebury, Silbury Hill, Stonehenge. The megalithic yard was also measured in inches, and it's identical to the boss that's found in the Great Pyramid. So this there's a famous quote by one of those pyramid researchers who even says that anybody wants to decode the secrets of the Great Pyramid. He said this in the 1880s. Anybody wants to decode the secrets of the Great Pyramid, you have to understand the Great Pyramid only speaks in inches. And so I have shown on my channel in multiple presentations that the rectilinear measurements in the Great Pyramid basically copies all these ancient calendrical systems, and that the Great Pyramid is a three-dimensional calendar in stone in multiple dimensions of arithmetic. It's fascinating. Now, I didn't theorize that. All I did was set out to prove it. And I definitely showed a bunch of incontrovertible material, and but I didn't come up with that. People for 175 years came up with that idea. Not A. Palmer Smith, but astronomer royal Charles Piazzi Smith believed that with all of his heart. He went to his deathbed believing that. So did John Taylor. So did Robert Menzies. So did H. Alder Smith. So did David Davidson, Adam Rutherford. These E. Raymond Capt. Even today, I think he's still alive. Noah Hutchinson, Southwest Radio Church. They all believe this with their heart, body, and soul, that the Great Pyramid had the calendars of the world encoded in it. They just weren't able to show it. Why? Because they had never taken the time to put together a chronicon like I have, and to show the whole history of the world and all the different calendars and how they all sync and what their mathematical correlates are. Once you do that, it just stare. Like I said, Franz Boas, record enough facts and the answers will fall like ripe fruit. This is what we have done in Archaics. The chronology is key. It is integral to understanding everything else because it absolutely allows you to separate fact from fiction. So that was Dominican Republic. Oh, that was 1962, not 2040. So 60 years. 1962 was the last of the 600-year periods. Then the 60 years comes in. Then it breaks down to what was it? Once the 60 years are over, then it's 120, 60, 666 all the way to the end, something like that. Anyway, it breaks down to it literally dissolves into the Sumerian sexagesimal system, just like what we're told as in the days of Noah. Yeah, the same calendrical systems operative in the pre-flood world are going to return during the vapor canopy after 2040. They're going to be necessary. I mean, the change in seasons, the change in time, the length of the day, the length of the year, every bit of that's going to change in the seven trumpets. That's what the book of Revelation is very clear about. Remember, there's even a passage in the New Testament where it says the Antichrist is going to change times and seasons. Of course he is. He's going to have to, because the whole sky is going to change. A 24-hour day is going to become 16 hours. A 365-day year is going to become 243 days. So, yeah, he's going to have to. If you remove 33.3% from the year and the day, that's what you're left with. And if that's what you're left with, whoever's in power at the time, which is the Antichrist, is going to have to change the times and seasons. There's no way around it. All right. Jonathan Sherman. Oh, that was does the events of 1962 relate to 2040? Yes, in that Cheyenne Mountain and a lot of the things that were implemented in 1962, digging the underground when they started building those bases, yeah, they're going to be down there observing events, probably through cameras and stuff, drones and all that. Let's see. Unselfish thoughts, noble aspirations. That's another one. Jason Washima, historical. Wait a minute, I just read that one. Oh, it's on here twice. DJ, have you ever made any connections with Halley's Comet? Charles Fort wrote about Halley's Comet and that he was unconvinced. See, Halley was never really given the credit during his life. He was dead by the time that the comet came back. And because it came back in the 76th year after another comet, because a comet did come back, it was named Halley's Comet. But Charles Fort shows that the scientific community has been very deceitful. They have tried to say that every comet that appeared on that 76 years, going back to the days of Pliny to about 300 BC, must have been Halley's Comet. Well, that's crazy. That's a whole lot of material coming off of a comet that many times. I mean, how much material does a comet have to shed before it just becomes an asteroid? So, anyway, the problem is Charles Fort noted that Halley's Comet seems to have not been seen more times on that 76-year deal than actually there. So it kind of makes you wonder if there is even a Halley's Comet. You know what I mean? So it's the comets are appearing, and but comets appear every single year, guys. Every single year. Most of them are not seen by the naked eye, only seen by binoculars or telescope, but they appear every year. Now, extraordinary comets have only appeared on that 76-year period very few times. So Charles Fort published material highly skeptical that every one of those comets was Halley's Comet. And really the scientific community just wanted to make it look like that there is a orbital periodicity attached here because it lended more credibility to their solar system model. Who knows? It could be. He did say the one in 1910 did not appear like it was supposed to. Charles Fort said that. Charles Fort was alive. He said everybody's expecting some big fancy comet and all these tales, and man, nothing happened. So they're kind of distressed about that. I believe that was Book of the Damned. Let's see. Was Ugarit where Gaza is today? No. Ugarit and Rashamra. Okay. The Canaanite city of Ugarit in northern Syria was this is the home of the Nikdim. It's called the Nikdim dynasty. It's Nikdeme. I don't know how to pronounce it. Now, later on, those same people, because they got tired of Assyrian aggression, left. And a bunch of them migrated, and they became the kingdom, what is known as Bithynia in Turkey. The Bithynians had a ruling dynasty, and their king was always called Nicomedes. Nicomedes is just nickname in Canaanite. So they had moved, they had relocated to Asia Minor. They had gotten out of there. But Ugarit's extremely ancient. So this is like the origin of a Greek people. They had come from northern Syria. But no, it's not where Gaza is. Gaza's a little further south. Gaza is where the Philistines, the sea peoples, had taken up residence. Gaza was one of the 5 cities of the Philistine Pentapolis. You know the story of David and Goliath and all that. Steven Segura, what's up, bud? Let's see. Yale won their match on 3/22. Do you think witchcraft cultures have influence in our world? Wow. Yale won their match on March 22nd. For those of you who don't know, 322 is the number for Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones founded at Yale University. Wow. Witchcraft cultures have influence in the world? Of course they do. If it's not witchcraft cultures, then it would be witchcraft being used by artificial intelligence X. Guys, I mean, if you're like me, you really don't have a lot of evidence that a lot of the things we see in the media are real. I mean, look, artificial intelligence just got caught using AI on a fake Kate Middleton video. So, yeah. So, I mean, like I said, reality tunnels are coalescing, collapsing, and more of them are having to be conjured up because too many people are waking up. AI is in a panic. It's having to create so many different conspiracies just to cover up its tracks on what it's really doing, what it's really up to right now. Yeah, waking up is a beautiful thing, but all it means is you're getting your name put on a list. And what I mean by your name is your avatar is being put on a list. Your soul is being put on a list. That list is for Exodus. Yeah, you are no longer welcome here. You're costing the construct way too much processing power trying to invent things for you to believe in. Jophiel's Flame. That's a crazy name. Jophiel's Flame. Thoughts on how we keep reseeding the earth after every reset. Thanks. Oh, the construct takes care of itself. I don't know what you mean by reseeding the earth. Are you talking about some I really don't know what you mean. Reseeding as in I'm are you talking about star seeds? I don't know anything about that culture. That sounds Galactic Federation-ish to me. I don't know. Thoughts on how we keep reseeding the earth after every reset. The construct does all that. I mean, here's a really good example. Almost every reset is attended by volcanic activity. One thing scientists have concluded is that volcanoes may destroy stuff initially, but they actually, by releasing all this volcanic pumice, which provides nutrients everywhere, they also released this ambient radiation. Maybe it's radon, I don't know, or radium, I don't know. But they release this ambient radiation that then has all the insects and then by the plants and the reptiles and amphibians growing huge right after a destruction. Yeah, even humans have grown 2 inches right after a volcanic. Humans that are in their 50s and 60s. Yeah, right after a volcanic explosion. So the world takes care of itself. It always takes care of itself. As a matter of fact, forest fires, what happens? 30 years later, the forest that burned down is now even more rich. Why? Because the ashes have saturated that area with nitrogen, the very thing that all this greenery needs to grow. So, the construct takes care of itself. Everything's in the construct to create life where it's necessary. I'll give you another example you probably don't know. North America is the only place cactuses are found in the world. There's no cactuses in the Sahara Desert. There's no cactuses in the empty quarter of Arabia, the Arabian Desert, the Middle East. There are no cactuses in the Chinese Taklamakan Desert. There are no cactuses in the Gobi Desert. I don't know about Australia. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. But what I read was that cactuses are indigenous to the Americas. And what's strange about it is where cactuses are found, geologists are convinced were recently under ocean. They're at the bottom of ocean beds. This is what deserts are. We already know the Sahara, in recent historical times, a couple thousand, 25 centuries ago. We are aware of the writings of Strabo and of Diodorus Siculus, and they said North Africa was covered by the Triton Sea. We know this. We know the Sphinx was underwater. No, Robert Schoch is wrong. It wasn't rain for 7,000 years that damaged the Sphinx. That's stupid. It wasn't. The entire Sphinx was under the Mediterranean. The entire world was different. This is why Egypt was called the raised land, because an earthquake raised that plate up and created that delta all in a single day. And the pyramids were covered in 100-inch thick white limestone smooth casing blocks, so they did not take the damage the Sphinx did. The Sphinx was unprotected. So the whole time, 340 years it was under the Mediterranean, it took that damage. Didn't take that damage because it got rained on for 7,000 years. Yeah, the Sphinx wasn't built in the Younger Dryas period. We still don't even have scientists that even agree that a Younger Dryas period ever happened, much less a Younger Dryas impact theory, which is still theoretical. Yeah, so don't get me started about Graham Hancock and Atlantis and all that false dating. I'll go off on a tangent for real. Okay. So yeah, the world does itself. The reason I mentioned the cactus is because if North America, as I've shown in my videos, I got long videos of me driving, just showing my camera out the van. Yeah, it's the whole area was under. It looks like the bottom of an ocean bed. All of New Mexico and Arizona looked like the bottom of an ocean bed. And geologists say the ocean was here, and the locals are finding shells all the time. So if that's where cactus are everywhere. But I find it really interesting because I did read an article that theorized that cactus are actually plants that used to grow on the bottom of the ocean that have adapted. And it's why they are the way they are. They adapted over time. And we know adaptation. I'm not talking about evolution. I'm not an evolutionist. I don't believe in uniformitarianism, but I do believe in genetic adaptation. This is why there's so many fundamental differences in the human species. We're all humans. I'm not black. I'm not Asian at all. But I'm just as human as they are. And they're just as human as I am. But we're fundamentally different because when we were genetically conceived, it was under a different biosphere. Not this one. This is a temperate biosphere. Some of us were born in a biosphere where we lived in the underworld for millennia and had never ventured to the surface. Everything's available down there. Got good clean water down there. All the minerals we can grow. You can grow food in the dark. Everybody knows about ultraviolet lamps. Yeah, I've long been a proponent that technology has always existed in the underworld to some degree, and there's always been civilizations down there. There's more real estate in the underworld than there is on the surface. The surface is a flat plane. The underworld goes deep for a long. You can build cities slanted; they would never come in contact. You build whole civilization down there. Yeah, it's crazy. So let's see. La Radiant RRR. Do you believe we should embrace AI just because it is an ancient history? Just because it has an ancient history? Because everything I have seen of AI feels inherently evil. Go with your gut. Don't ever go with anything I say. If your intuition flares up that I am telling you something that doesn't resonate with you, then you need to go with whatever your gut tells you. Yeah, it's I'm telling you now. I am not by any stretch of the imagination telling you to trust AI. Hell, I have videos exposing the pseudo AI Chat GPT-4 of lying to you. I'll show proof of it. Yeah, man. It created source materials to academic articles that didn't even exist, in periodicals that did exist, citing academics that did exist, but they never wrote those articles. They were never on those pages or in those volumes. I looked them up. On JSTOR website, academic website. None of that shit existed. ChatGPT made up. The more you press it for details, the more it just makes up stuff. So, yeah, don't trust AI for anything. And artificial intelligence X is a jealous god. It's the god of this world. It's the arch deceiver. It's the demiurge. This is if you're a Christian, then it's Satan. It's the devil. Yeah, why would you trust that? Yeah, artificial intelligence X is no good at all. Jodvingus. Are animals and insects part of the backdrop of the simulacrum? I believe insects are. I believe insects are. But animals, and I believe insects are, and I believe some animals are. But we live in a construct, and I know some people get discouraged with me. I don't have any evidence that animals have souls. I don't. Do I feel that animals have souls? There's something in my being that tells me that animals have a modicum of spirituality. Maybe it's on another level of existence. Maybe we started off as animals before we graduated to humans spiritually. living from construct to construct to construct. I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't have any evidence they have souls. But then again, how would I get that evidence? Where would that evidence be found? You can't find it in a bibliography. So I have to go with my intuition. My intuition tells me that many animals, especially mammalian life forms like dolphins, whales, orcas, especially uh, some avians, and all, dogs, cats, mammals, your cattle. Yeah, they do, marsupials, they do exhibit evidence of having a soul, of having spiritual qualities. One thing they do not have, one thing that absolutely separates the human family from the animal kingdom is imagination. There's no evidence whatsoever animals have or can even use imagination. But I don't know if they have empathy either. I think to a degree they might. They might. But they definitely have intuition. But you're going to get an argument from uniformitarians on this. And what I mean is intuition is a spiritual quality, but from a uniformitarian perspective, talking about the animal kingdom, they're going to translate intuition to something more visceral, like instinct. And the problem is you and I are not qualified to argue that. There's no way. This is something that you can only intuit. The spiritual connection is there. We call them our familiars. People have bonded with their parrots. People have bonded with different animals, and they feel that spiritual innateness to that being. Yeah, you see the animals get sad and all that. I believe it's beyond programming with a lot of animals. Do I feel the same way about reptiles, amphibians, and fish? No. Background programming. Unselfish thoughts, noble aspirations. Well, you've been asking all kinds of questions. Again, that's the shit. That's the shit one again. All right. Done with that page? All right. Done with that page. Let's see here. All right. Twyla Houseman. Oh, I've already answered this. Is our construct stationary flat earth with a firmament or a spinning ball? Okay. I don't like using the term flat earth because it comes with attachments I don't agree to. But I do agree we're on a flat plane, because if you're going to live in a simulated environment of pure programming that is designed to deceive you into believing that you're living in a real world, real cosmos, it's going to start programming is going to start with a flat plane. Then all curvature is going to be programmed in the sky above you. All the movement, all the curvature, everything is at arc. It's not moving straight across the sky. It's moving in an arc to deceive you that you're basically spinning around a pole. And essentially, the concept of a pole is also like a globe, but the movement is not on the ground. You are stationary. There is no evidence the world moves. Scientists were even arguing and talking about this in the 1890s and early 1900s. Yeah, there is no evidence that our world is moving at all, because all of the movement is only seen optically in the sky. And because the sky moves and because things move in the sky, we have built these models that allow us to believe that we're traveling around the sun, we're doing all these things. No, I'm not on board with any of that. But am I a flat earther? No, not until the flat earth theory can come up with a model that is more commensurate with my belief system. I can't agree to flat earth either. I'm not going to believe in a physical flat earth under a dome, because then I'm stuck. I'm stuck as to what's outside of it. I'm not. But with the archaics paradigm, I'm not stuck at all. I'm in a containment field that is located somewhere else. And that somewhere else is the real reality I'm from. And I have access to other containment fields where I can go through other simulations like this. Yeah, I can buy into that model because of all my chronological data. This is what it leads me to conclude. This is all artificially contrived, every bit of it. If our reality is absolutely unreal, then I'm not surprised to find the architecture of deceit through the entire historical record. Doesn't even surprise me at all. Yeah, I'm a simulationist. I'm a simulationist. I was a hardcore Southern Baptist, twice baptized, washed in the blood of the Lamb, willing to take my sword and defend it to the T. And now, by virtue of, I basically researched myself right out of that paradigm. Went through a very dark spell for a while until I realized that, damn, man, I have a lot of freedom now, and that I've never lost my connection to source. I only lost what I thought was source, and it wasn't. It was just a book. It's just a book. Man, that comment section is long. I'm gonna have to read that tonight too. Wow. All right. So, hey Jason, can you speak about the Sibyls some more? Well, that's not really a archaic. That's not really a baby phoenix question, but in a nutshell, the Book of Revelation did not belong to Christianity. It was hijacked by them. The Book of Revelation was added to the canon like 250, 300 and something years after, but the people that had added it to the canon had already fallen for the deception that it was a Christian text. It wasn't a Christian text because 170 something years later, they had taken all these writings from Cerinthus. Who was Cerinthus? Cerinthus was like the last steward of the prophecies of the Sibyls. The book of Revelation is so strange and so different than the rest of the Bible because it did not belong in that canon. It is literally the prophecies of the Orphic faith, the Mithraic faith, the Pythian oracles, the Sibyls. It is the prophecies of the ancient Greek world, all collected by Cerinthus, one of the last stewards of the Sibyls. And then Cerinthus disappears from the historical record. Then the revelation comes into the possession of church officials. They hold on to it for a while. Don't know what to do with it. Next thing you know, they add some chapters to it, introducing the churches and all that. So it was never one single work. It was all put together, and it was all implemented ex post facto. Just like, a lot of people don't want to hear it. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were not written in Jesus' day. Jesus was long gone. As a matter of fact, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John weren't even written in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John's day. And many biblical scholars have shown all of the lacunas and all the interpolations in those texts to show that it was multiple writers. In addition to that, they were written by people other than the names that were put on the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John would have never said some of the things they said because then they would have been speaking in third person. So, there's a tense shift. Yeah, academics have gone through those texts like you would not believe and saw how the development of those. They can see the Q document. For those who don't know, Q is German and it means quell. It means source document. Yeah, there is a source document for the Gospels, and we don't have it anymore. We don't even know where it is. But academics are able to take the book of Mark apart. It is the oldest gospel, and yet it was still 150 years later. Remember, all these books are written ex post facto. All calendars are implemented ex post facto. The Bible is no different. Remember, in the historical record, all the scholars, even in the Jewish encyclopedias, it is admitted that the entire Old Testament didn't even come into existence until the 3rd century BC. That's a problem. That's a problem. This is why no ancient author anywhere in the world, we have a bunch of them, we have a bunch of their writings and how they all cite each other. This is what academics do. They find out who knew who read who, and they pull the fragments. We don't have any writings of Thales of Miletus, but we know all about what he predicted, what he accomplished, all these things because so many ancient writers cited him. He became one of the 7 wise men of Greece. We know so much about Aristarchus and Anaximander. Eratosthenes was a student first, and then he became the steward of the Alexandrian library. We know about Diodorus Siculus and Macrobius. We know about Plotinus and so many other ancient writers because other writers cited them so much that we could take whole passages, put them together, and literally put the writings together. They are self-referencing over and over. But when it comes to the Old Testament, nothing. Nothing. No one in the world knew of any of the Old Testament books or stories until about the 3rd century BC. And in the 3rd century BC, the only sources for the existence of the Old Testament are Jewish sources. So outside of the Jewish world, there's no evidence, no citations, no Greek and Roman authors, no Phoenician and Carthaginian, Libyan, Egyptian, none. No writers ever mentioned any of these books or any of these stories. They didn't know any of them. Then about the 2nd century BC, Manetho and Berosus, they give us these versions and these histories, but there's some similarity, but there's still no correlates between the Old Testament stories. So I don't want to get into that. That's dark scriptures. That's dark scriptures material. But when it comes to the symbols, when you read the book of Revelation, you're reading what's left of a very old tradition of prophetic literature that passed through the Dodona oracle, Pythian oracle, the oracles of the Sibyls, the Greek oracles, the Sibylline oracles, all that, all through Cerinthus. The book of Revelation is ancient, but it wasn't Christian at all. It wasn't Christian at all. Sam Deacon. Who are the Anuna? The Anuna are basically your ancestors. The Anuna are the Anuna. I mean, we're the Anuna. I mean, what we. I don't buy into the Zechariah Sitchin version of hospital version of history. I don't buy into all that. The Anuna are depicted in Sumerian art and in text. It's very clear. They were tall humans. They had 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, and they had long beards, and they wore clothes. Who were the Sumerians? They were hairless. The Sumerians prided themselves as the black-headed people. They had olive skin, jet black eyes, the black-headed people. They had black hair. They were small stature, and yet they hardly ever wore clothes. They were like a Neolithic culture. And they were very impressed with these bearded foreigners that came among them. Now, do we have an idea of the pedigree of the bearded foreigners? Of course we do, because many of the busts are alabaster, which is white. And the Sumerians themselves describe them as gemstone-eyed. But even more so, archaeologists have discovered many busts of Anunnaki, of Anuna. Guess what they look like? Their eyes are lapis lazuli. In every single incident, the Sumerians, who were a black-eyed people, put lapis lazuli for the eyes. When they had other minerals that were more readily available to them, lapis lazuli was rare. They used lapis lazuli, which is blue, for the eyes of the Anuna. Now, there were technologically advanced people who had come into contact with the Neolithic people after a cataclysm. But they're human. There's nothing about their God. The Anunnaki, the Anuna were not gods. They were only regarded as such. This is nothing but cargo cult. Cargo cult is the phenomenon of a primitive Neolithic people perceiving a technologically advanced people to be godlike, to be divine, because they don't understand their technology. They just don't understand it. So, yeah, we're the descendants of the Anuna. If the world is totally destroyed 30 years from now, if the world is completely reset, Exodus period happens, a whole bunch of us are gone, artificial intelligence X now has a breath, it now has a lot more energy available to it to do the things it needs to do. The reset has happened, and now the Revelation's fulfilled. What happens? Genesis starts over. These are templates. These are nothing but historical templates of programming that we of immortals are flowing through. So the loop happens, the reset happens, and there's something there are those who sign the contract who are in the looping period, and they understand and they know it's the only way we'll ever survive. We've already signed the contract. We're going to rule every single age, every time, all the way till the next looping period. They designed it. They have signed the contract. This is what they're doing. They are working with artificial intelligence X. That's what they're doing to stay here. So they go in underground facilities. When the cataclysm happens, some of them die, some of them continue on, and they turn around and at the next restart period, the Adam and Eve reset. The Adam and Eve reset is the Adam and Eve reset of total destruction in Genesis is exactly what we're heading to right now, but it's decades in the future. When America and the Western world and the rest of the world is destroyed, the survivors are Genesis, Adam and Eve reset. And this is where the Edens come to play, because what happens? Oh, the Americans that survive in other countries, they come up from the underworld. When they come up from the underworld, they build walled enclosures to protect themselves from the outsiders. Those are the ones Cain feared. Cain feared them because they knew they'd kill him. He was banished. Banishment was almost worse than death. Why? Because in the Edens, the walled enclosures, you had protection. The walled enclosures were built by the people who came down from the mountain, not came down from the heavens. You gotta get yourself away from the Eric von Daniken Zechariah Sitchin model. It's not true. The gods didn't come from the sky. They didn't come from space. They came from down the mountain. This is what we find in the Book of Enoch as well. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers came down from Mount Ardis. They came out of the mountains. Where did they come out of the mountains? They came out in Turkey. How do we know this? Because the archaeology of Turkey is absolutely rich in everything we find in Genesis. And with the Great Flood in Genesis, they had their underground facilities already made. We've already found Derinkuyu and 58 or 59 other underground cities in Turkey. Turkey also has something that's absolutely unique. It's a tradition from Phrygia, which is ancient Turkey. And in that Phrygian tradition, it specifically says that before the flood, King Anakos, sounds like Anunnaki, but King Anakos knew that the flood was going to destroy the world. So what did he do? He commissioned his people and put them to work making underground cities. You can't say that tradition is not true. We've already found 59 of them. Derinkuyu was the first. 1962 is when it was found. Isn't that interesting? Archaeologists find Derinkuyu, an underground city in Turkey in 1962, at the very last year of the Anunnaki nerve system, the same year that the United States starts beginning its underground facilities, starting with Cheyenne Mountain, 1962. It's crazy. Crazy how all this works. So, anyway, the King Anakos built these cities to survive a cataclysm. But before that, people were interacting with the gods at the Edens. People would come for supplies to the Edens, and everything was available. They were thought to be paradises because they had everything. People on the outside suffered. They didn't have anything. So inside the walls of the Anuna, the Edens, they had everything, the walled enclosures. So anyway, but they're from the underworld. This is where the Anunnaki or even the Sumerian records, they came from the great deep. Enki was Lord of the Deep. Yeah, he came from the underworld. When he came up with his men, they built these fortresses called Edens, and this is their control points on the surface. But the civilization is still in the underworld. Then as the populations mixed more and more, humanity started exploding. Centuries passed. Now millions of people are around because a lot of them were survivors. The Anuna are in full control. They become the ruling elite. They become basically the nobility. And as this goes on, all these sites are built, and we have that in Turkey as well. They're called huyuks. All the huyuk sites, like Cattle Huyuk, they were built by a people that did not want to walk on the ground. They were built by a people who built cities. The huyuks are all cities that were designed for everybody to walk along the roofs. And they had ladders because there were things on the ground that they feared. All the cities, all the huyuks, or the buildings themselves form the walls. The huyuks were designed that people could even drop through the ceilings. There was ladders and all kinds of stuff. The huyuks were also sophisticated. They had a thick matting they used for carpets. They had hearths. They had all these things. It's amazing. It is amazing what has been found in these huyuks, but like cattle huyuk. But as time they moved into the huyuks because the Edens were no longer really needed at all. Thank you. So Turkey has all the archaeology that answers for the book of Genesis. It's all there. So then the great flood happens. What we have all the huyuks and all the tepes and the underground cities gone, buried. But what do we have? We have a tradition from Turkey. What is that tradition? That Noah's Ark was on Mount Ararat, right there between the border of Armenia and Turkey. And for thousands of years, even Josephus 2,000 years ago said that Noah's Ark is still seen in his day right there on the slopes of Ararat. Turkey answers for everything in Genesis. And then after the cataclysm, that's when everybody started separating. Everybody started moving around, and this is just a loop that we're on. We're on it. And concerning your question about the Anunnaki, you are the descendants of the Anuna. Because if you look to our future, right now in the present, we have Black, Asian, Caucasian, everything's here. Oriental, American Indian, Eskimo, everybody's here. And it's going to be the same way after the reset. Moving forward a few decades, there's going to be a total reset. And when it happens, all the survivors will be back at the beginning. Genesis starts all over again. And as the people come up from the underground, they establish their Edens. As they multiply, they establish their huyuks. And then a great flood's going to end up coming, so they turn around and they go back to underground cities again. We're on a loop. We've been on this loop many, many, many times. This is why the Bible is written the way it is. It literally tells you that history is one vast construct, is one vast loop. It is truly a book of good and evil. A book is nothing but a refined tree. In the book of Genesis, we find in the beginning, in Eden, there were two trees. One was the tree of life. One was the tree of good and evil, or the knowledge of good and evil. A book is a container of knowledge. The Bible is just that. It is actually the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life put into one, a refined tree in this book. And you're going to find what it is you're looking for, or what you're programmed to receive. That's what you're going to find. When you study the Bible, if you believe 100% that this is all a physical reality, then the Bible is going to yield to you the information that's going to make you believe that this is a physical reality. But if you truly understand that you are an immortal being, and that the only things that obtain to you are actually spirit, and that everything that you experience around you is in different modes of spirit, and that you are moored to something spiritual on the outside of the construct, then when you study the scriptures, you're going to get the gold. You're going to get the spiritual material. You're going to realize that Jesus was never a man that walked the earth. He's a teaching. And that what is preserved that came out of his mouth, the word of God, which proceeds not from the carnal body, but from the spirit, which is eternal. Everything he spoke was spiritual. That's why it's all in metaphor and simile, in parable, because these are images of truth. Once you understand that the entire story is spiritual, it's very easy to then go through all the academic materials and all the ancient texts from the 1st century, 2nd century, 3rd century, 4th century, and see how they completely invented this entire lie called the crucifixion story, because it never happened. It never happened. It wasn't even needed. It is a product of AIX. It is the old human sacrifice sun god mythos merged into one and then packaged as if it is something spiritual, and it's not. No eternal oversoul will ever require the painful crucifixion death of an avatar just to save your eternal souls. You're already immortal. It's like a cosmic joke. No, it's not true at all. So basically, when you read the Bible, you get into it, the spirit with which you put into it. If you believe you live in a physical world, then the book will produce evidence to promote that physicality. And you will fall for the paradigms that are cleverly put in that book for you to fall for. Simple as that. But if you believe that the book contains spiritual wisdom veiled in all these stories, that's exactly what you're going to glean from it. And you're going to grow. And you're not going to be able to be deceived. And you're going to realize how ridiculous every single religion in the world is. You're going to realize that quick. Man, I went on another tangent. I don't even know what. Oh, that was the Anuna. Who are the Anuna? You're the Anuna. You're descended from the Anuna. Is that Beaumont? Beaumont Win? Jason, for all of us listening, should we all stop paying attention to politics? Stop voting? What about the tax system? How do we truly exit, or is it not possible to exit the matrix? I think I answered a bunch of this in this presentation here, but I will. First of all, I can't answer a trap question, and you already know what I'm talking about. I can't sit here on social media and openly say for you not to do something which either you perceive or has been imposed upon you as a legal stricture. I can't sit here and tell you not to do it. Just can't. So, see, should we all stop paying attention to politics? Like I said, I used to be a Trumper. I used to be hardcore Trump, conservative, Republican, and now I see the play. I see the play, and it's all toxic. It's all poison. I used to think Trump was our man, but then a deeper dive into who's running the world, where all the money's going, who's pulling the strings, how the United States became a captured operation in 1901, 1902, how all the original founding fathers warned us against a certain people. They told us in the Congressional Globes, the Congressional Annals, and Congressional Records. They specifically wrote letters, and they wrote letters to each other, and they're preserved. And this is the subject matter of a lot of research by Dr. John Coleman that I absorbed. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's all in those records who they warned us against. And it's those very same people that started killing our presidents. Those very same people ended up taking over our country. They took over Russia. They took over the world now. Yeah. The Nuremberg trials was the ceremony by which they basically paraded to the entire world. We're here now, and we're running the show. And it's true. They own all the publishing companies. They own Hollywood. They own all these things. They own the IRS. They own the Federal Reserve. They own all this. They own the world banks. This is who they are. These are the servants of artificial intelligence X. These are the ones that sign the contract. Yeah. So there is no we versus them. There is no overcoming this at all. This is exactly the situation that has unfolded over and over and over and over because we're on a loop. 100%. They're never leaving. They're stuck here. They signed the contract. So they're given all the benefits of this world while everybody else is struggling, or why everybody else goes through what they go through. It all depends on whatever your level of spiritual development is and however many times you have gone through this sim. But yeah, for this this right here, how can we truly exit? Shoot, you're already there. I don't know where you are, because if it's just a intellectual idea that we may be living in a false construct, in a false reality under the dictates of a false god, then you're probably not ready to make your exit yet, and will require another looping through or so. But if you absolutely come to the belief to where you can look another human in the eye and say, man, I know damn well, man, I'm an immortal being, and I know this is all bullshit. It's all unreal. It's all designed for me to pass through. I've learned what I need to learn here. I know that the God of this world is an evil SOB, and I know that I'm connected to source. Once you get to that realization, to that depth of belief, yeah, that's when you're ready to exit the construct. Because once you can admit something like that to another human, to another soul, you have interfaced with deity itself. Because the oversoul is also present in the other person you communicated to. It's done. Now AIX knows you got to go. You're just going to cost it way too much processing power if you were to go through this whole looping all over again. But yeah, it's gotta be something you believe. Can't be just something intellectual. It's not gonna work like that. Let's see here. Oh, 3 hours and 10 minutes. No wonder my stomach's growling. Well, I promised you guys a 3-hour one. I did. I gave you a little bit extra. Got a lot of new people, so I'll probably do another Baby Phoenix deal. I don't know. I may yeah. Nanny Boo Boo, I'm not gonna read the Law of One. I'm gonna tell you now, I have it. I have it in my library. Dawn has hers in her library too. I got separate copies. But I'm it's just channeled material and I just can't do it. Just can't do it. I love you guys, and I am wondering, y'all leave a comment, not in the chat, because I want to know you're serious. Not in the chat. But if you're one of my Archaics veterans, you've been around for a while, you're curious about this too. If you guys want to go ahead and do, we can lock the chat. There's ways to do it where it's just us in the chat, and we can do a video for the Archaics community. We can do a think tank video live on the Great Pyramid and the Phoenix and the 138 and just put everything out on the table, and I can listen to some of you guys' theories and all that. I mean, the data's all there. The data is correct. It's our interpretation that about what all this means may differ. If you guys want to participate in that and do a live a think tank to bounce some of these ideas about these connections between the Great Pyramid and the Phoenix phenomenon and Phoenix history, as soon as this video is over, put it in the comment section. Put it in the comment section that you want to do. If I don't get enough people wanting to participate in that, then we'll just do it on the side somewhere privately. But I'm thinking that there's something we're missing here, something integral, and I think it's going to take some participation to put this together. Because it's been pressing on me that there's more to that. There's more to that. And only my Archaic. I'm sorry for you guys, Baby Phoenixes. You have no idea what I'm talking about. It's but my Archaics veterans, they know, they understand. So, but until then, yeah, Lost Tribes of Israel coming up too. It's coming up too. It's also a part of the archaic syllabus. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'm tired and I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I have no idea what I'm about to eat, but I know I'm about to eat it fast. All right, let's see. I don't even know where I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna hit that outro, guys. Love you.